Apologize for the delay, calling this regularly scheduled meeting of City Council to order. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you could, then please stay standing. We're going to have a moment of silence for the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you could stay standing, and we'll just have a moment of silence for the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. Thank you. August, roll call, please.
Mayor Scripture.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Here.
Councilmember Moffitt.
Present.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
That is full quorum, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. Then next on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda. Unfortunately, we had hoped to be able to use that pre-meeting time to do some of the stuff ahead of time, but we scheduled over that with you, so didn't work out that smooth. But I want to pull item C from the consent agenda. So, what? Did you say something?
C from the consent agenda.
We'll pull that when we do the consent agenda.
We are on the consent agenda.
No, Mayor, I
Approval
move
of
the
the
agenda as presented.
I'm saying I don't want the agenda as presented. I want to pull something off the consent agenda.
I've never figured out why we have them two so close.
Me neither, so yes,
Item C from the consent agenda or from the agenda?
consent agenda,
From the-
because that's
For the
on the
the Renshaw
agenda.
rates.
Yes, that's on the agenda. I want to pull that, move it under new business, which I can make a motion to that, but before I do that, is there anything else on the agenda anybody else would like to? And we can make a summary motion. Any other? No? All right, in that case, I make a motion, we approve the agenda with the exception of removing item C from the consent agenda and moving it on the end of new business.
So it'd be K.
Consent agenda C.
No, it
Oh,
would be K in new
Okay,
business.
thank you,
Yes.
yes.
I'll support that.
Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
We have a new item K.
All right, in that case now, we would have consideration of approving the following consent agenda. I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Second.
So,
Councilmember Moffitt.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Consent approved.
We didn't mess that up because we have something to add under proclamations, but oh well, we're just going to do that when we get there. Next, we have on the agenda presentations and proclamations.
Madam Mayor, did you do public comment? Did I miss that?
Where is it? It's after presentation and proclamations. Wait, no.
Item 6.
We got approval agenda.
Oh, there it is, sorry. We went right to consent agenda. Then, thank you very much. I'm on the wrong list. Okay, so let's go back up to that. Public comment for items that are on the agenda, not off, items on the agenda. Is there anybody that wanted to speak for items that are on the agenda? And Ken, do we still have, are we still Zooming for, Renus for comment? I don't see it up there.
That's it. That's it.
That's it, okay, all right, so we're not, so there's nobody on there online for public comment, right?
Yeah, there's no one online at this time,
Okay, so I
Madam
don't
Mayor.
have to worry about asking, all right, so then audience only. For items on the agenda, going once, going twice, all right. Now, presentation and proclamation, and Gina Boyd, Director of Recreation and Senior Services, is up.
Hello, hello. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for this opportunity to introduce myself and chat a little bit about what we've been up to down at Hunter. My name is Gina Boyd, and I have worked for the Parks and Recreation Department now for over 20 years. I started as office staff back in 1998, worked there through high school while I went to Wayne State University and graduated, and was also working in public relations. And I just really enjoyed the work I was doing for the city. And as I began to gain more responsibility, a full-time position was created for me in 2014. So I started working more closely with the seniors around that time, and then took over the department in March of 2020, which is notoriously known as a great time to take over anything or start anything new. So that was great. But since the pandemic began, we've served over 11,000 carryout and homebound meals with no plans to change that program. The majority of our seniors are not very active online, so that's been a great way to continue our daily or weekly contact with them and kind of check in. My staff also reached out to them during the months that we were closed. Usually they would call once or twice a week just to check in with everyone. We did begin a slow reopen of our Parks and Recreation office in June with limited office hours, and currently our office hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. Our loan closet is available to anyone in the community that may need equipment, such as walkers or wheelchairs, and our SHARP program has continued to run, which is our Senior Home Assistance Repair Program, which is for seniors who live and own their home still in Clawson. Let's see. We did bring back our senior chair exercise classes in June as well. Pavilion rentals resumed in July, and our Hunter Fitness Room opened in August. Starting this month, here in September, evening yoga classes and ballroom dance classes will resume, and chair yoga will resume for the seniors. A small number of rental groups have also resumed during our currently limited hours of operation. And we are prepped and ready to resume transportation as soon as our bus gets back from the Sharp Yard. We're having them look at everything over just to make sure, because it hasn't ran in so long, and we're also getting plastic dividers between the driver and where our riders would get on the bus. So once we get the A-OK from them, we'll start notifying our regular riders so that they can start making their appointments again with us. And then we're kind of keeping our eyes on the rising numbers. We have weekly staff meetings right now, so we'll kind of ongoing decide exactly what else we're going to continue to bring back and what senior activities will resume. The Parks and Recreation Department has been able to kind of team up with our other departments and partake in some smaller events, such as the Drive-Through Santa event that we did with the Police and Fire Department. We did the Santa Parade with the Mack truck with the Fire Department. We were able to kind of do a very scaled-back version of our 4th of July this year, and a couple concerts this summer as well. And we are currently planning on a low-key version of our Fall Festival, Sunday, October 3rd, and that will once again close out with a bonfire done by the Fire Department. So it's been quite a learning experience to work throughout the pandemic, and it's been really wonderful for me to at least work more closely with other department heads and get to know the staff better here at City Hall. I worked under 2 amazing directors, and both Kathy and Mickey have been wonderful about answering any questions or any advice I have, especially like I know the old Hunter files were mentioned earlier. So I feel very supported and encouraged by everybody here at City Hall and all of our city staff. And I hope to just continue to expand our offerings at Hunter and our park facilities. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
You're doing a great job. Let's keep it up, will you?
That's the goal.
All righty.
Anybody else? Any questions?
No, she knows as far as baseball. so
Yes,
we can
yes,
talk
that's,
about that.
that's an ongoing thing. We just met again last week going with that, so
Perfect. Excellent.
we're working on that one.
Excellent, thank you.
I just want to say, good job. I mean, over the pandemic, you had one employee working with you and stayed loyal, showing up, getting the meals out to the seniors, which was huge. Our curbside's still going strong, so
I'm lucky.
I just, on behalf of everyone, thank you for doing that and
Thank
keeping
you.
that going.
Absolutely.
Didn't you
Thank
have a retirement?
Pardon me?
Didn't you have a retirement in the middle of COVID that couldn't be?
Technically, he's actually willing to come back and still kind of help us drive, so hasn't been an official
I didn't know if we
retirement.
should
Right.
officially recognize the
Not yet. He's
retirement.
stuck coming back once the buses are good, so,
No
Thank you.
official retirement.
yeah, no, nothing official. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the next agenda item, I did receive correspondence from Farmington Hills, and I just want to read it real quick. On behalf of the city of Farmington Hills, they wanted to extend their sincere gratitude for the city of Clawson assistance during their state of emergency on July 7th, 2021. A severe microburst storm with high winds ravaged Farmington Hills, resulting in downed trees, damaged homes, and extended power outage. Your staff from Clausen provided critical assistance and played an instrumental role in our ability to provide a swift and comprehensive response to our residents in the aftermath of the storm. Please accept this proclamation as a show of appreciation and thanks to the city of Clausen and its dedicated workers. And it was accompanied by a nice proclamation that said, whereas the city of Clausen helped with this stuff, pretty much what the letter said, and thanking staff in the city. So just wanted to go ahead and make that announcement because that came in the mail. And yes, thank you very much. Then we have no public hearings? No public hearings. Then we have new business. And first on new business is consideration of approving the PUD development agreement between the city of Clausen and Trowbridge Land Holdings. My understanding is with the PUD approved, this is just the part where we're signing off on the language for the, correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Did you want to say
Madam
anything
Mayor.
on it? No, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I move the PUD development agreement between the City of Clausen and Trowbridge Holdings LLC be approved.
All right, now, did you want to say anything about it? No?
You get, once you second and you open a debate, I'm happy to
No,
speak.
second.
Now you can talk.
I don't have anything, I'm asking him,
No.
do you have anything to say?
And Madam Mayor, you're exactly right. Last time council approved this, the only caveat is that Councilmember Georges and Councilmember Shepherd may not vote on account of their prior vote. Other than that, it's a staple agreement, something that we do random throughout the cities in the state, and I'm asking you to approve it.
And you've reviewed it, obviously?
I have, and
The
so
planner
has.
reviewed it?
I'm sorry?
The planning?
And the planners reviewed it as well.
All right. No, any other questions on it? You two don't get to say anything. so-
No.
Shush. All right, roll call vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
No.
2-1. Passes.
Thank you.
All right, then next on the agenda would be consideration.
Thank you very much.
Of the introduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend the City of Clausen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Division 1, Section 34-481, Division 14, Section 34-893, and Division 21, Section 34-1104 to regulate on-premise smoking establishments. Could I? You know what, I just moved that. I moved that we amend the City of Clausen with everything I just said. There you go. Make
I'll
that
support
easy.
that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't have to say it again that way. You have a memo in here, right? Mr. Nushay?
I don't, I think.
Joe's here to speak.
Joe has a memo. The plan, okay, sorry, I know I saw a memo in there. Do you want to come up? Sure. Well, did you have anything, I mean,
Well, thanks for volunteering.
No, I can just briefly explain. So essentially, we don't have these in our ordinance right now, so and we've been approached by quite a few people who've been interested in it over the last couple of years, so we wanted to get it in the ordinance and in a specific district in the city. So the Planning Commission studied it, chose the B3 district, and that's the language that's in front of you.
I have a question.
Sure.
It talks about prohibiting people age 18, but isn't 21 the legal age for tobacco?
So that's the federal law.
That's federal law.
That's the federal law.
But the state, isn't it in 20, you have to be 21 to buy tobacco products, right?
That was a debate we were having to, we figured it'd go through first reading, we would clarify and finalize that for second reading.
Sure.
My personal opinion is that it should be 21 consistent with, because it's just like the bars, right? You don't let people under 21 into the bar because there's a
Sure.
chance that they're gonna sample, right? And I think that the language of it should be consistent with that age limit, it's my opinion.
can I ask a question based on that? Does that mean the employees all have to be 21 or older if you make that a thing? Or is it just the patrons?
Just to
Yeah.
purchase.
Okay.
Just to purchase.
I didn't know
You
if
can
that-
serve alcohol at 18.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
Is it the
not
same
consumed.
thing here? You can work there at 18, but you can't be a patron? Okay.
Right.
Correct.
So Councilmember Moffett, are you asking to change that part of it?
Well, it's just my opinion, I'm usually not in the majority here, but I mean, that's what I would like to see changed, that I would like to see all the references to age 18 to be changed to age 21, consistent with, you know, with the law, whether it's federal or whatever, but you have to be 21 to purchase tobacco products. And so-
Would that make your debate that you guys are talking about easier? Because that takes care of it?
Well, we just noticed
Yeah, somehow.
that it had said 18 in there, and I brought up to Rennis, and then he's like, yeah, we got to discuss that. So you can move on the first reading, and we can make that adjustment for
But is-
For the second reading, yeah.
To Councilmember Moffat's question,
No.
is it supposed to be 21? Is that what you're saying?
So, well, the answer to that is a little complex. It's not as direct as you present it. So, for example, we have federal law that says thou shalt not have thou shalt not have marijuana in this city in any capacity, but we have state law that allows it. So that's a complicating factor. I think if council's will as a body is that it be 21, end of story.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, if it be your
And we
will,
have this, we can do that?
of course.
Okay.
most stores are abiding by that anyway,
Precisely.
if not all.
I'm willing to amend my motion
Yeah.
to say age 21. I don't have an issue with that at all. But I would need the person who seconded my motion to agree. I don't remember who seconded my motion. Who
Did we get a
seconded-
second?
Who seconded my motion?
It was Mayor Pro Tem.
Hello, 21 bothered? It's okay if you don't, I mean, that's fine, we can go have a discussion about it.
I'm
Just
good,
if-
I'm good with that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't want to. Well, now we can discuss. I'm willing to amend my motion. I've amended it. You've allowed me to amend it with your second. Any other thoughts on that?
To me, it's one of these things, just like the marijuana, that we tell people, go ahead, you can do it, but it's still against the law in the federal, you know. So if we're going to say 18, but they can still get busted for doing something wrong, so let's make everything equal. It's easy to remember.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's making it consistent. Seems wise. I was going to say logical, it's something that's completely different, but wise choice.
Councilmember Georges?
21's fine with me.
Okay, all right, then that would, any other questions about it? About what a smoking thing is, that I would never step my foot in anyways, so.
I think a cigar lounge would be cool.
This is one of those exceptions, right?
But there's still, somebody 18 still can sell it in the store, right?
Yes.
That's what I was asking. But, so this is one of those things where they're an exception to our no smoking laws and all that stuff?
Yeah, in fact, that's the only way you can open one of these, is that if you actually have a permit from the state that predates the no smoking law. So
really?
there's a finite number of those permits in the state, and they get sold kind of like liquor licenses. You know, if you've got one of these permits and you close your business, you can sell your permit, and someone else can take it and open up one of these businesses. That's the
And
only
there's
way you can
state permits,
establish
So it
one.
doesn't matter what city you were in before?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
There's no quota or anything locally. It's all state level.
So we don't have anybody that's doing this right now. You guys are just cleaning up our ordinance.
Exactly. We're cleaning up the ordinance, yeah.
Location that had that?
Yeah, well, there was one restaurant, I think, that had a room that predated the state law. And then one of the smoke
The smoke
shops
shop.
too had like a couple of chairs and things too.
No, Westgate.
Yeah, but they both predate the state law. So that's how they've got their permits.
All right, well, with that, then, do you want a roll call vote?
Mayor Scripture?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Georges?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Passes. I will publish the public hearing date for the next meeting, I believe.
Second reading? Yep.
Yeah, the second reading and the public hearing.
And you guys don't have to do anything now, right?
Oh, ma'am.
Sweet. You're welcome.
Thank you.
The council, aren't we?
Yeah, right. All right, then, sorry, I was looking at the letter, so now I got to go back up on the agenda, which clearly has something to do with planning, or Joe wouldn't be stalking
I
that
can-
podium like he is,
I can
so.
hang out here. That's okay.
All right, so next on the agenda then is we have consideration, and I'm just going to make this motion as I read it because it's another long one. So I am making the motion of this item on the agenda for the consideration to amend the Code of Ordinances for consideration, whatever, to amend the City of Clausen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Division 19, Section 34-1058, to regulate building materials outside of the, I hate it when you use acronyms, CC, Central.
City Center.
City Center, thank you, and CMD,
Yep, central mixed use.
Central Mixed Use Districts. And I can get a second?
I'll support.
All right. Okay, go for it, Joe.
Okay, so, well, two of the council members are familiar with this because we discussed it at the Planning Commission when they were still on it. But basically what we're doing is in the city center and central mixed-use districts, we have a prohibition on the use of a material called EIFS. It stands for Exterior Insulation Finishing Systems. And the reason for that is tied to the durability of the material, particularly when the material is at ground level where it can be interacted with by people who might be walking by, delivery people who might have a hand truck or something going in the building.
Interacted with?
Yes.
What,
as
they
in,
reach out
like,
and fondle it? What are you talking about?
You could knock into it, you could drop something and it
by.
could bounce into the wall.
Cars can, it happens over at the KFC. There's EIFS over there.
Yep. So basically, any way that, anywhere where a person is likely to come in contact with it. So what we've done, but that only applies in those two districts. So what we've done is we've taken that, and this is based on what we've seen around the city on certain buildings. We've taken that and we've applied it outside the city center and central mixed-use district. So that this material and aluminum siding, which is another thing that's very easily dinged, we didn't originally have that in there, but that came in after a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission. And we've applied that kind of on the ground floor throughout the city so that these materials that are easily damaged when people come into contact with them won't be used at the ground level. If you still want to use it decoratively above, you still have that option. But we're looking for more durable materials at the ground level. And we've also added some maintenance standards and things that can help us manage blight over time in this language. And if we ever wanted to do more with building materials in the future, we could always add that to this section, but for right now, we're doing a very basic.
What elevation can they start using it?
Is it 10 feet?
It's more than 10 feet above grade. Yep.
So essentially what you're saying is that you would like to take this EIFS off of the approved building for those districts because in a preemptive strike against something that blights easily. and
Exactly,
Goes
yeah.
downhill fast.
Yeah.
It's not on there as an approved material. We would just prevent it from being used.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not prohibited right now is really, I guess, the way
So
you'd
we're
say
being
it.
specific and
Yes.
clear.
Exactly.
But not as specific as calling out that material itself. I mean, it is called out, but it's also the durable
Right,
type
I
of
saw-
material.
Right, exactly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
we're, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
is an example. as
We're
far-
calling out a couple of materials that we know not to be durable
Not
from
to be
experience, and then
Okay,
we're going from there.
that's my question. Anybody else? Do you have anything you want to add since you were?
No, I mean, it just, we've experienced some other facades recently. I think it was Crystal Cleaner, that some of the brickwork had fallen off. Some of the more decorative facades may be durable in the south and, creep up in use in the north, and salt and other harsh environments take their toll on them. I noticed the House Optical is also having some problems with their facade.
The old one or the new one?
The new one.
New one.
The new one. So that's something, and again, as far as the maintenance aspect of it, should also carry over into making sure that those are taken care of.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, you want to roll call that vote, please?
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
We'll move on to publication and second reading.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Joe, are you sticking around for the joint commission? If we have any questions?
I'll be here for that item.
Okay. Were you going to be until I said that? Are you rethinking your exit strategy right now?
It's still raining.
Until the rain stopped.
Until the rain stops. Okay, yeah, it's all about the rain. All right, well, I am not sure, okay, let's see here. I'm not sure why you're sitting down, because that would be you next. That's what I'm going with that. It's kind of just watching you walk away. It's next, Joe. Get back up here. He's not really, yeah. All right, next on the agenda is consideration of a request for a joint meeting of City Council and Planning Commission on September 27, 2021 to discuss the capital improvement plan. I'm going to motion this to make it easy. I motion that we set a joint meeting with City Council and Planning Commission for September 27th, and we're going to say at, I don't know.
Make it 18:30.
18:30 to discuss the capital improvement plan. Can I get a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. Joe, go.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we'll be doing a training, a joint training on capital improvement plans and
Are we doing a training on the
process.
process?
The
Okay,
process,
so-
exactly, yeah. We're getting into the kind of the guts of how you do it
Okay.
at this one, and what people can expect from the process going forward. So, I mean, I think we've kind of already established, we know what capital improvement is and what a capital improvement plan is and what its purpose is. But at this one, we're really going to get into, here's how we're going to do it, here's what you can expect from a
Timeline.
general schedule, exactly. So we should, everybody should walk out of this one with a sense of what to expect over the next, however many months.
Okay. All right. Just out of curiosity, are you going to be able to send the presentation materials ahead of time, or is that just all going to be?
Yeah, I think that would be the goal. Yeah, if we could, if we have any
So
handouts and
people can
things.
ask questions, I guess.
Yeah,
Just prepare
exactly.
them. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
we'll be, all right, perfect. Anybody have any questions on that?
Just kind of a comment. I think that anyone who's running for any of the council or mayor positions, I think would have the sense to come to this. But is there, this question I think is more for August, could we specifically notify the people that are running about this workshop? Because there's, we're kind of lamed up here. It's going to trickle over to the new council people to make sure that they're aware of it. Again, I get it's a double-edged sword. If they're running, they should be aware, but also, would like to put them on notice that this important process is taking place. And
I have their emails. I can do
so
that.
I think that would be
Sure.
beneficial.
Yeah,
Sure, I can
it's
let
a
them know.
Good idea.
Yeah, cool.
No objection here. Any objection? Oh, you two have officially been notified. So,
I'll get the email.
all right. Anybody else on that? Nothing else? In that case, roll call vote, please.
We decided on 6:30, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Passes. 6:30 on September 27th.
All right,
I will
Joe,
see you
enjoy
there.
the rain.
Yes.
Thanks,
All right. Wait, actually, Joan, you're here. Joan, you're here for the drainage? We don't need Joe? Okay, perfect, just want to make sure. All right, in that case, next on the agenda would be consideration of approving the application for a redevelopment liquor license for Chuck Tacoma LLC for 236 South Main Street. If I can get a motion? I guess I could have made it, but go ahead.
Mayor, I move the application from Chuck Tacoma LLC of 236 South Main Street for a redevelopment liquor license be approved for submission to the State of Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
Second.
All right, is there anybody here to speak on that? Anything we need to know? No? Yes? Maybe? I know there's something in the packet.
Joan Horton for the Downtown Development Authority. I just want to clarify one thing. You're actually not approving his application. You're giving him a resolution of support so that he can make an application.
Sorry, I just read it the way it was written.
Yeah, I just read it now too. And so I just wanted to clarify that. This is, we've done these before. We currently have 4 active redevelopment licenses.
Right.
So this is, he
It's
cannot
the same thing
make
we did last time, where we had to approve,
similar, yes,
make a
yes.
resolution so the
Yeah,
application
yeah,
could be made. Could
yeah.
you amend your motion, please?
I sure can amend my motion to change from approve to
To
A resolution?
give a
Support.
resolution
resolution of support
for support.
so that they can make the application. Without without the resolution, they can't even file an application.
Okay. So resolution of mayor, I move the application for Tuck Tacoma LLC of 236 South Main Street for redevelopment liquor license be moved for support. Resolution for support for submission to the State of Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
Second.
You okay with the second? Okay, thank you, Mr. Georges.
So I have a question. What's the difference between a redevelopment liquor license and a regular liquor license, or is there one?
Redevelopment liquor licenses you can only get within a DDA, and they are intended for the small bistro-style independent restaurants.
Okay.
So you're going to have less seating in those. They're not intended for large Buffalo Wild Wings. So just to use that as an example, but they are intended for the small places. So the license itself is $20,000. But you have to be able to redevelopment license, so there are some conditions. You have to show that you are putting at least $75,000 in improvements into the building.
Okay.
And that's something that MLCC checks. They look at your bills, they look at everything before they give it. So the initial cost is less, but there is improvements to the building. So licenses that are sold on the market can go for whatever the market will bear, whatever somebody wants to ask. Now, some of these smaller places cannot, they're not going to get a return on investment. When you have 50 seats or less, you're not going to get a return on your investment. If you have to spend $100,000 in a liquor license, it's going to be years before you sell enough liquor to do that. So this is intended for redeveloping properties and giving those small places the opportunity to, give something more to their menu. So typically ours are about at least 75% food, maybe 25% or less in alcohol. So,
Interesting. Thanks.
yep. Do you have
I know
any?
you're recusing yourself.
You're right.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I don't know
I
if you have
wasn't
any.
even going to call his name.
If you have any questions for the applicant, Charlie Sampson's here. He has the LLC that is applying for the license, and this is for Downtown Charlie's, which is changing their menu and adding a lot of seafood choices. So it really adds something to our restaurant mix that we don't have currently. So they will continue with breakfast, but still bring the other menu choices that we don't currently have.
What's going to be the primary seafood? In other words, what fish?
So right now, we're using Motor City Seafood. They're very big on fresh seafood, so pretty much it's kind of limited to what they're able to catch within that week. We actually had a menu set up for a little pop-up dinner we did the other night, and we had one of the fish we had ordered that literally was, hey, we didn't catch any today, so you can't have that one. So we're going to have some different stuff that'll be kind of your standard things, but a lot of stuff is looking at, hey, this is the seasonable fish, sustainable, how important that is right now. So looking at fish that is, being caught pretty much by line or very limited kind of quantities.
So you going to be wild caught?
Some wild caught. We had we did some striper sea bass that was farm raised. That was really good, and kind of going around that. So it's always looking at different options that we can do. We'll obviously have a core menu of things that we're going to bring on. That'll be kind of our consistent things like a fish and chips, but that may change from doing like a cod to a pollock to a different one like that, depending on what we can get in those time frames. So kind of a rotating menu, still concentrating on the breakfast menu as well, having that be kind of our mainstay because breakfast is great. We want to be a good spot there. Having this opens up the ability to make a little more money and kind of be more in the community. We close at 3 right now. We've done these few dinners that have kind of really had a big hit. We'll be kind of trickling these throughout the next few months as we go through this whole process, just to kind of get our feet wet and kind of see how the process goes, get people comfortable with, hey, this is a good seafood spot to come to. And then we'll fully transition once we get the liquor license and can kind of support the abundance of what that would look like, so.
Hours of operation?
Currently, right now, is 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. When we get into having the liquor license, we would operate a lot later, just to kind of have that crowd. It wouldn't be till 2 a.m., probably looking more in that 11 to midnight range. On the weekends, on Saturday, we'd stay open a little bit later. Sunday, we would just operate till 3, just kind of doing the brunch thing, give the team a early day off. Currently, we've been operating closed on Mondays at both restaurants, just to kind of give the team a break staffing-wise, give myself a day off occasionally.
What's the capacity?
So current capacity, I want to say we're at like 48 in the frittata side. With the expansion, we're probably going to be looking at 94 inside. On the outside patio, depending on what we decide to seat there, we probably could look about like 170. Again, what up? Total. That's inside, outside, both sides of the building. So that's the old frittata building and then the Froze side that's next to it. Yeah, so about 170. Again, that's also what we can handle. That kitchen's very small, so putting 170 people in that is, kind of a disaster if you really want to go that route. And so it would be one of those, we're going to kind of keep it scaled back so it's a little more fun of a dining experience and not just, trying to pack people in. So.
And as far as the trash container and anything else, does it need upgraded or enlarged or?
So most likely we are going to look at enlarging that. Currently, Juvente is on their way out at the end of the month. They currently hold that a contract that's going to switch over to us. They're here in this month, and we're going to have an evaluation of what that's going to take and require for us to fill that thing up. So we can look at a larger container that will fit in that, as well as just kind of like what we need storage-wise, because, obviously growing the business this much, it's going to turn into, does that hold all of that? But definitely a thing that we're on our radar and going to be evaluating as soon as basically October 1 hits and that becomes ours, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. We can't walk down to Lily's in Royal Oak, so
Yeah.
I'd like to walk down to your place.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're looking at, is that there's not a great little seafood spot that you can kind of pop into and do that. And I think it's a really nice thing to add something different to Clausen without inherently competing with another Clausen business, because in the end, the more businesses that we have down there, the better it's going to be for the community. Better it is for me, the better it is for all the other owners, and kind of have that mindset, so.
Did you want to ask about trees? Sorry, a lot of planning type questions here.
Sorry, old habits die hard.
I'm teasing. Anybody else? Any questions? No. All right. Go ahead, roll call.
Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Thank you. Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson is going to abstain. Mayor Scripture?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Georges?
Yes.
We will draft that letter.
Thank you. All right, the next on the agenda is consideration, I don't know where you thought you were going, Ms. Horton. Consideration of approving the drainage and surface restorations for the alley located on East 14 Mile Road.
Madam Mayor,
Like I said, I don't know where you thought you were going. Go ahead.
I move the drainage and surface restorations for the alley at East 14 Mile be approved.
Second.
All right. Did anybody have any questions on that? And I believe they would be directed to Ms. Horton.
Chris, can you get it done?
Yeah, I'll be out there tomorrow, breaking ground myself, yes.
I'll come help.
Thank you.
So it's $20,000?
Scott has the invoices for the two parts of the project. One is the drainage, and then there is restoring the surface after it's dug up for the drainage.
And so who's paying for that? How are we paying for that?
Local roads, Kelly, right? Local roads and streets is what was proposed in this. So Joan came to me with these numbers in this paperwork and, said, now we have to approve and move to the next, to get moving on the next step. It's been a 3-year process. It's been there. I said, well, let's go to council with these numbers to move the project. Either, we're doing it or we're not. And these are the numbers that are there for the project. So that's why it's in front of you today. We did meet with finance. That first section comes out of local roads. I think it's 19,725. The brick replacement is 16.2, and I think there was 10,000 in a building account, and then the rest also, I don't know if the rest of that comes out of local streets, but finance director was able to find the correct GL numbers to move the funding. So it's really before council. I know it's been talked about several times, but it's before you. Here are the numbers to approve to move it along.
I was told originally when this started, the DDA had the concept and we're doing the artwork and the decorative things, and I was told back then drainage was the city and that it would be coming out of local roads now.
Are the grates
So-
available?
Pardon?
Are the grates available? I thought they weren't available.
Grates
for a
are
while.
available. Hartwell, the contractor, found a different grate system that did not require concrete, that it can be set in and then the bricks set right up to it.
Which one of these? There's 3 of them.
I think it was the one that says ACE.
The first one, I hope. Maybe not. Oh, that one? Ace or ACO? No, wait.
Yeah, it's
I don't-
ACO, the one that Joan had said, it's the
ACO.
one that's 19,725,
Yeah.
Thank you.
the first part. I know that paperwork has 3, 4, 5 sets of numbers through it. She did clarify 19,725 is the first part of that project, 16.2 is the second, but both of those need to go before council for approval. To move the whole project, you can't do one without the other.
Right.
And then to finish answering Councilwoman Moffat's question, the 10,000 he's talking about that is coming out of the DDA budget, which is a maintenance budget that we pay to the city yearly. So it will all be going towards that.
So is the total 20,000 then, or is it,
It's those,
No,
it's these two numbers together?
correct.
correct.
So it's 40,000?
Part 1 is 19,725, part 2 is 16,200.
Okay, so city's paying 1975, you're paying 10,000 of the 16, and so the city's paying 26.
Correct.
And so when you say drainage is the city's responsibility, like decorative drainage isn't necessarily the city's responsibility, right?
Well, I don't, from what numbers that I saw originally, first of all, it has to be, the grate has to be a certain way because it's not in the middle of the road, so it has to be ADA compliant, so you can't get your heel through it. So it's not necessarily that decorative, it were the choices we were given for ADA.
Well, I mean, so we have other drainage throughout the city that's not this, right?
I don't know where we have trench drains. Personally, I don't know.
So it's a special kind of drain?
It's I believe it's like an 8-foot drain that will go down the middle of the alley to take care of the water that comes through there. Right now, it sheets over the sidewalk, which is a pooling problem in the summer and a freezing problem in the winter.
Sure.
Because they said with the grade, it only moved, it's like a 2% grade. So the water in the winter is going to go very slow and it will just freeze there. So a safety issue.
So AEW worked on this project along with Hartwell, and then everybody else. Obviously, there's been talk about it for several meetings. Then when the numbers came up, this is the next step.
So this is the part where we said get it done, and it's getting done.
This is the part where you said get it done and this is how we get it done.
What's the total?
She just said.
It's,
19,
Those two numbers.
725 for
No.
part 1.
No, just add the two together for me.
40,
about $40,000.
yeah, about 40,000.
Exactly. What's the exact number? 41?
Hang on, Rennis is punching the numbers.
Are you punching?
I'm literally punching the numbers.
So they backed into the numbers, what you're saying?
16.
Okay.
20618.
35,925.
What's that?
4343,
No.
so 19.
Oh, okay.
Seriously,
Wait,
you got
wait.
35,
Uh-oh,
she
two
does
different
43?
numbers.
I mean, really?
I can do only 1/3.
That's right.
43,
Councilmember
43.
Moffat's number?
That
Thank you.
seems high.
No, it's not. It's 35.
35,9.
Oh, I was doing 19 and 20.
No,
Yeah.
19
Okay.
and 16.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, I stand
19 and
corrected.
16, yeah.
It's confusing.
Still trust
Here.
me.
Still, so $35,000 then, right?
35,925.
Okay. Combined. Interesting.
Again, this has been that
Yeah.
project, the numbers are here. It's up to council to decide what to do with it. We can't approve it
Been
move
ongoing
forward without
for
it.
Oh,
3 years?
Well, right now it is what, the 2-inch gap or step that's there right now, that's,
So about 4.
is it that big?
Oh,
It's
killing
I
it's bigger
don't
than
go through
2.
that way anymore, because I noticed that and forget it. And again, it's the ADA is the longitudinal ductile iron gate. Is that the choice? Okay, because it is the only one that's ADA compliant.
Both of them are, the grates are, the one,
they are,
the
okay.
ACO one is less money because it doesn't require the grate to be set in concrete. There's I'll call it a tray that sits
Oh, okay,
underneath
so you
the
can-
grate, and that can be set in the brick.
So it could be maintained easily too. Mm-hmm. Okay.
One last question on the money. And then we're going to subtract your 10,000 from the 35, correct?
Correct.
So we're talking about $26,000.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we went with a different design that was set in the concrete, if there was any problems, they'd have to take out more of the concrete in order to get to the drain
Pardon?
You mean for repairs?
for repairs,
He's asking
right?
it.
So if there's any issue with the drain itself,
We
Depending-
pick up the bricks and you can get to it.
okay. Oh, as far as the way that they're set would not necessarily require tens of
Concrete to be
thousands of
broken
dollars.
through.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Okay.
yes, because it's just sitting in, I don't want to say it's just sitting in the brick. It's, certainly they have a way of securing it.
Okay. No, I was just thinking long-term, what are the additional costs if we go with one or the other?
It'd definitely be a cheaper way to repair.
Yeah.
So
That
just,
sounds like it is.
sorry, you didn't even interrupt. So the city owns this little strip of land?
The alley?
I said yes.
Yes.
By-
Yeah.
I got it, I looked at you, I saw.
Don't ask me to find the paperwork.
Should we just vacate it?
Next question.
Just wonder why we continue to own it. Like, I mean, seems like sell it to one of the businesses and whatever, move on.
Well,
Anybody else?
it's a public access.
Right.
It's right away.
Roll call.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
No,
No.
We're good? Yep. All right, next on the agenda, we have
4 to 1.
consideration of approving the resolution to contract with the Oakland County Elections Division to conduct all absentee ballot counting for the city. Anybody want to make that motion? Let's just make these things go faster.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, anybody?
Second.
Thank you. All right, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, so this is something that I
I was
look,
talking to you, I didn't even say your name.
who else is going to talk about the AV ballot?
Just kidding. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, did you like?
No, I was laughing. No, you're right.
All right,
Talk about it.
this is a service that the county does that I've been jealous of for the last couple years when I was in Wayne County, talking to my fellow clerks about, oh yeah, we're done, the county does this. So basically, we take our ballots in the morning up to Pontiac with one worker that we pay, instead of having 11 or 12 that we have here. And they run it with their staff and their high-speed tabulators.
Does the worker stay there all day?
Worker stays there,
Part of it,
yes.
So they're, okay.
Yes, and we'll find, it might be this, one of our normal people, maybe someone new, we don't know, we'll figure that out. And I don't know if during a presidential year they'll want to, but still, it's still much less than we do now. There is no cost other than the cost for the workers. They will, some cities pay them $150 to come pick it up in the morning, so we don't even have to drive it up there. It's an option. And basically, right at 8 o'clock, they hit the button, everything gets sent up to the website. Now, ballots dropped off during the
That was my
day,
question. What happens all day?
they get processed at the precincts. So we take them over there, and at 8 o'clock, they just, if I have 6 of them from precinct 5, they open them, and there's a way to mark it in the poll books to count them.
Right, right.
They check them off, and they run them through there, and then they hit the button and go. And they could do it throughout the day. They could do it throughout the day,
So it
absolutely.
doesn't- Okay.
Yeah, so it won't be a big holdup at the end. There's always that one person that walks in at the end, but it's very efficient, and I talked to my colleagues in Farmington Hills and in Oak Park, and we can't imagine doing it any other way. They do, some cities do, we do have the right to bring it back at any time that we want to. If we have like another little, a small, like, kind of like that school bond election. If we think we can handle it here, we'll just do it here.
Right.
This also frees up 2 tabulators
Right.
to have in case of emergencies, which is just wonderful. It's a peace of mind to have,
So when you say during the day you'd run them to the precincts, do they go to the actual precinct that it belongs
Yes.
to, or is it just any?
Yep, the actual precinct that it belongs to.
Okay, so.
No, it has to go,
Someone
yeah.
has to sort them to the precinct.
Right,
that
a precinct
belongs-
5 can only go through a precinct 5, whether it's an AV or not, and the tabulators will be programmed as such.
And would they
Yeah.
just have, would it be one of those, hey, run them through during the lull?
Sure, they can run it any time during the day, and it's all marked accordingly.
Gotcha, but they can do it throughout the day?
They can do it throughout the day, so it won't necessarily hold them up. There'll be one precinct that's gonna get that one at the end of the day, but it's not gonna be a stack, so to speak. And as we roll this out, we can also educate the public that it's useful to turn your ballots in before Election Day. It makes everybody's job easier, so.
So talk to me about the secure transfer from the city of Clausen to the county. Is it in a locked box? Is it a sealed box?
It'll be in a
signed
sealed
box?
ballot bag, just like any other ballots that would be delivered. We will seal it up, take it over there, we'll have a record of the seal number.
Like a count before, we're sending 200, you got 200?
Oh, yeah, we'll
that
have
kind
a
of stuff?
count. We keep that count as a rolling tally anyway. And
Okay.
we wouldn't even send the ballots into this room until the count balanced. We had as many envelopes as we had on our list that have been checked in. So it's not gonna leave here until the exact same standards are reached. And there's a full voter list that we have to provide them with.
And it's in a sealed bag, and then they
Yes, it'll be in a
unseal
sealed
it
box.
officially, and so they're not driving around the corner, putting a bunch of new ones in, or anything like that?
No. It's sealed, and the seals match. It's a process.
Perfect.
Like, okay, we're taking up seal number 77564, and they get there, and they, just like they do at the precincts, they confirm the seal in the book, then snip it, and go from there. Yeah, we wouldn't deliver an out of balanced. Yeah, it has to balance, or else they won't.
So the point is, there's all kinds of security measures in place for the transfer.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. All right,
That's all
cool.
considered. Mhm. And we could even have police officers take it. Other cities do that. They have a police officer running up there.
Cool. Any other questions? Roll call vote?
Okay. We are on Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Thank you.
So you've got bunch of people that have been doing that for years and years?
Well, for the few years that they've offered it, yes.
No. I'm talking about the people in Clausen that have been counting absentee ballots
Oh,
for
yeah.
years and years.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because now they possibly could move to a precinct, but you might want to say a nice.
We've already talked to them. They're aware.
But I mean,
Yeah, we gave them a talking to during the training, the last training for the AVs, that this was a possibility that we were looking into and evaluating, and they were like, oh, well, we'll go out, work in a precinct now, or,
I get that part. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, are we going to thank them for, a lot of them have been doing this for years.
oh, I know, and we did. We said, we just wanted to prep them and let them know. We gave a big thank you that night, saying this might be your last one, I'll miss your brownies.
I was just going to say, be nice, because those brownies could show up again, just.
I know, I'm keeping the brownie, so the brownie train is
pipeline
still
open.
on the tracks.
Yes, all right.
But thank you,
Okay.
council, appreciate it.
Then, next on the agenda, we have, actually, I'm just going to do it because it's easier. I move the lease between the Spanish Toddlers LLC and the City of Clausen be renewed to allow the tenant to use 4 rooms more fully described as room 1, 2, 3, and 8, the small courtyard and small office located at Hunter Community Center for a term to expire August 31st, 2022 at a rate of $2,500 per month. If anybody wants to say
I'll support that.
It's the motion.
Speaking on that, or no? Anybody have any questions for?
Mary, did you make the original motion?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just went ahead and
that's
motioned
fine,
it.
thank you.
As I was saying, make go faster. Does anybody have any questions for our Parks and Rec Director?
Stay there.
No? All right.
You're good.
Does anybody have any comments then? No?
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Georges?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Scripture?
Yes.
Yeah, it's passed.
All right, thank you. Then, next on the agenda, we have Consideration of foregoing the RFP process and selecting a firm from the three firms that submitted proposals to City Council in 2019 for city manager search. I'll let someone else move that and then discuss. No move.
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council review the proposals from Amy Sell, GovHR, and Michigan Municipal League, and select one of these firms to conduct the city manager's search.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so just to give some, that's why I didn't want to make the most, some context on this. The three RFPs in here are the ones that submitted last time through the, I'm sorry, not RFPs, three proposals in here are the ones that submitted last time through the RFP process. They're pretty much the only game in town. And I reached out to each of them and asked them if they could look at their, I sent them a copy of the proposal and said, could you update this if there's any updates? And so this is kind of a two-part process. First of all, because normally it would go out for an RFP, I don't know if we need to, because those would be the people that would submit, and, I mean, now they're updated. So, and then the second part is if council agrees to forego the RFP process with these updated proposals in front of them, then we would pick one.
So I'm of the opinion that we should not go through this exercise because we won't complete it before the election. And the incoming people on the council might want to do something completely different. So I think we should forego this whole process and leave it to the incoming council. It's 2 months. We're not going to be able to complete it in 2 months effectively. And I think that we leave it, I think we need to leave it to the new council.
And actually, that was my goal, in that we would go ahead and get the process going, and they would make the selection of the city manager. It would be the new council, not this council.
Yeah, but they might want to do an entirely different process. They might have an entirely different idea. You know, for us to start it, for someone else to finish it is I mean, let them, you know, hey, if we've gone through 4 city managers, let's let someone else have a stab at it. They might have an entirely different approach to it, want to revamp the job description or the interviewing process or whatever. They might have a whole completely different idea, and I think that we should leave it to them. It's 2 months, not even that. By the time they get the applicants, I think we should just leave it to the new council. It's my opinion.
Okay, anybody else?
No, I think as far as, well, looking at the timeline, we're looking at, what, the shortest turnaround was, what, 11 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that may be a little bit too soon. I saw one that was 16 or 17 weeks, right? So
I think they would all go to whatever weeks.
yeah, and it's however long it takes, right? So we're looking at, what, January at this point, if not February?
And if
So
we-
that's enough time. You know, if there was any change in their direction, we could make a change in direction, or whoever it is at that point in time could change direction and pull an RFP. It doesn't necessarily have to stay the course.
I think it would help the new council to be a little bit ahead of the ball if we started now.
Why start a process that might have to change in the middle, though? I mean, you know, that's not being respectful of the incoming council. I mean, we're starting a process saying, oh, you can change it to, you know, who's going to want to take on that project knowing that it could substantially change?
That's a hypothetical, right?
Yep.
So as far as if we were having any responsibility on what we need to do for having something in place as important as city manager, we might as well get it started now.
2 years ago, we were going to wait a whole year before we went for a permanent city manager. We let an interim city manager, when we had Kathy Leanhouse. There was a whole argument that we leave the interim person in for a year to understand it. I mean, historically, this body has not, you know, been in a rush to get something solid in place.
Yeah, but that didn't seem to work out so well, right?
But none of it's worked out. That's my whole point. Four and 2 years, we haven't gotten it down. Let's let it to the incoming people, is my whole point. Yeah, that's exactly my whole point. Let's leave it to the new council to take up and
So-
have them do it the way they feel they need to do it.
So what you're saying is that they're going to have to come up with a completely new process in order to come up with a city manager? How long is that going to take?
They can look at the same proposals that we have, but then they're going to craft how they want them to interview the people, what they want them to look for, what's important to the new council and the city manager that's going to reign under their purview.
I do believe that part of everybody's process was for input, and we would have a public process for that. So they would be able, if they're running, to come and give input just like anybody else would. That was my thought, I mean, because I thought about that too.
But you have a bunch of people's input, and they're not the final people that have to live under it.
It's for the people. All right, let's all wave our hands, okay? I don't appreciate that, okay?
I could express myself any way I
What
feel
What we're doing
appropriate.
here is we're looking to find the right person. So we start now, okay, we're getting everybody a 8, 9, 10-week jump into the situation. There's nothing in any one of these reports that somebody else coming in and looking at them is going to change.
Yes, there is. Who's going to go through the process? Who they like? We're going to select a body that we like, right? Incoming people might like someone different.
A body, what do you mean?
We're not
An
selecting a
entity.
person, we're
We're
selecting.
going to select someone to go through the process. We have 3 to choose from. We might choose someone completely different than what the new people would choose. So we're not giving them the opportunity. So it could be completely
Let
different.
me ask this question. Okay, you're going to be here. Of the
I'm not
three-
going to be here. My term's over in November.
Microphone.
George, you need to speak in the microphone, I'm sorry, that's what I was saying.
I'm not going to be here. You two might not be here. The only person that's going to be here is Councilmember Sampson.
Who do you like?
Wait, hold on. In looking at the calendar and how, first of all, if we were to approve one of these RFPs, the farthest that this would get, I'm not even sure it would get to the posting stage yet. It would just get the initial stuff, holy thunder, the initial parts, if they're, whatever public comment, whatever input into, tweaks to the job description, that part, and that's it. I mean, it would start the process so they're not that far, and if all you're doing at that point is getting to the point where you're putting in.
Can we talk about the
Only, first we have to agree that we're not gonna go out at all, or no RFP, or just do nothing, as
Okay,
Councilmember
can we-
Moffett said,
can we
or
take
we're
a
gonna
vote?
say we don't need to go for an RFP.
Call the vote.
Yes.
Take a vote.
Call the vote, you're asking me to call the vote, I understand now, sorry. Yes, call the vote for the RFP.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
motion one more time, perhaps the
Yeah.
motion is not what you see.
I can't, because I don't know exactly what the motion
Okay.
is.
think-
I believe the motion was to forego the RFP process because we don't have to do one, and because we already have 3 firms from last time who are, this is a very select, small universe of people that do these searches, qualified to do these searches. So rather than go through a whole RFP process, skip that process and choose from the 3 that were the choices last time, that the last council came out of the RFP with their updated, so
And the motion was exactly as written.
Okay,
on there.
Just keep it that way.
okay, so nothing else changed there?
I think,
Gotcha.
and I think what makes sense is to vote on that motion because nothing else has changed, and then do a new motion
Right.
thereafter.
Yes.
So this motion would
That's why I
be
said
to
it's-
review.
Which is it's on the list that way, it's there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right, Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes,
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
That motion passes.
then the next motion would be, if we're not doing an RFP, we've got 3 in front of us, which, as I've said earlier, they were all updated. And then, so the motion would be consideration of selecting whichever one to conduct a search for a new city manager, and
I'll cut to the chase. I move the city select Michigan Municipal League to conduct a search for the new city manager.
Second.
now we can discuss which of the 3. Go ahead, George.
All right.
Because it doesn't matter who we put, we can amend the motion, it was just to be able to discuss it.
My vote, okay, was for the other one, okay, the GH,
Why don't you just go ahead through your reasons
okay.
compared?
Basically, the dollar amounts are about the same when you take a
Mr.
look at
Georges,
the amounts.
Mr. Georges, you gotta speak to the microphone.
Basically, the dollar amounts are about the same when you start looking into the proposals,
okay? And it all relates around the hourly charge. I believe that the more positive one, okay, GHR, when you take a look at as to who they have been bringing in as city managers and upper-level management within cities, okay? The other thing is that the person that would be assigned to us is an actual employee of GHR, okay? Whereas the Michigan Municipal League, the gentleman is a subcontractor, okay? He is not an employee of the Michigan Municipal League, okay? Just solely for that, I would prefer to have somebody who's an employee of a company, okay, doing the search.
For them reasons, I'll
Well,
amend my
why don't we
motion.
just see what anybody else says? Because we can amend it at any time. I mean, we just had to get it on there to be able to discuss it. Did you have any, in looking at the two proposals?
As far as what I saw, and I'll just be brief, I thought that the Michigan Municipal League had what I felt were better qualifications. It was more on who they had, what their track record was, and having had experience working with them on some other issues, I was satisfied and more familiar with what they had. I thought they had a more thoughtful timeline. And as far as who they had as for record on who they had hired and who they had placed, I thought their credentials in that regard were slightly better.
Okay.
I like their fee schedule better, too.
Councilmember Moffett?
I have no opinion.
Okay. I actually, see, this is why we want to discuss. I actually preferred GovHR, although honestly, neither one are worth any kind of a big argument. They both would be. But my reasons for GovHR is I also did some kind of searching and looking around on my own. The gentleman that they assigned, the Vetriano, he has quite a reputation and with relationships, which recruiting really is about relationships. Now, I'm sure Municipal League does too. It really depends on who has the most, and some of it's just going to be putting it in the right places and people apply. But real recruiting means they learn about us, and then they know of people, and they actually, and from some conversations I had, they have some really good relationships, quite broad spread. So that was just, but again, 6.5 dozen, it is not worth it for me to have the fight. That was, I just thought that there was a lot more, what's the word, not credibility, because that wouldn't be right, because they're both very credible.
You can always amend the motion and see where it
Well,
goes.
it's not my motion, it's someone else's, and I'm
It's my motion, you
genuinely-
can amend it.
Oh, I can
You can
suggest
amend my
an
motion,
amendment?
if somebody seconds it, we vote on it, and then we go back to the motion. That's a great way to figure it out.
Well,
So as it stands, it's a motion to hire the Michigan Municipal League.
Right. You need to make a motion to put GovHR and see if it gets supported.
fine. Well, I'm gonna, because George said he wanted, I mean, I don't wanna make this a big argument, like I said, fine, whatever the thing, I'm asked to amend, I moved to amend the motion? I moved to amend the motion to say GovHR is to conduct the search for a new city
How
manager.
do you support?
Second.
You got support?
Well,
Okay.
Call the roll.
There was a second from Mr. Georges.
so we know we had a motion and a second, we're just wiping that away now?
No,
And
you vote on this amendment, Councilmember Sampson's knowledge of the Robert's Rules of Order is pretty good.
He knows his stuff.
So
Okay.
you would
If
vote on the
if he's-
amendment,
It's paint Lou's house.
the amendment
red.
and then?
Then the
Fine.
original
Okay.
motion.
I knew there was two votes coming here, I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out the order. Okay.
what are we voting on now?
Right now, you're voting to amend the motion to GovHR.
Correct.
Not MML.
So, in other words, if that gets voted down, we go back to the original one, which obviously is gonna be MML. If it gets voted up, then presumably someone, the next motion, we go to the next one and they vote it down. I mean, that, yeah. So,
Okay, so on the amendment, are we ready to vote?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Oh,
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
either way. All right, thank you.
All right.
So,
Now he calls a vote for the other one.
oh, yeah.
It is now,
Yeah,
yes,
sorry.
now on
Well,
the,
let's all vote for the same one.
As
It's
amended.
obnoxious.
Councilmember Moffett,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
So we're voting on the first one now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're voting on GovHR.
Oh, GovHR,
It's been
yes.
amended.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
So GovHR is the passed motion.
And for your assignment next week, ladies and gentlemen, is,
Yes, thank you. You're masterful at that. I'm not really good. I can't keep that straight. So then I would guess that the next thing would be then to direct city staff to contact GovHR to,
begin this,
yeah.
begin the
Begin the
search.
process.
And I make that motion, however it reads.
I don't, do
Well,
we
it's
need to make
it's
a
a
motion?
given.
That's
It's a given.
right.
It's a given.
Aye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, interim city manager. All right, under,
We are now on K, Madam Mayor, which is the
yes,
Renshaw
thank you,
rates.
that's what I was trying to look for. I'm like, I know we moved one of them. Okay, so I gotta go back up to that, hold on. All right, since I'm the one that asked it to be removed, I'm gonna explain why, because I don't really necessarily have a motion. Well, I do, but I don't. So the reason I asked that to be removed and to be brought up under discussion, under new business, actually, I think it would have probably been old business, but I mentioned this before, and it wasn't just a theoretical, opinion kind of thing. It's more of a, this is a real issue that we have to consider because we have no income screening for Renshaw. And if we have cities or tax exempts and cities, any of these things that are doing these, they get the advantage of being tax exempt. If we don't have a government reason, a public purpose for providing low-income housing, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, then we're just in direct competition because they don't pay property taxes. We're in direct competition, and on top of that, if you look at what we've done, we've essentially not invested in that building at all, practically slumlords. But we can't do that. We have to have we have to have some income. We can't. So I'll give you an example. The way it stands right now, somebody could get on the waiting list, get accepted. They could have a house in Clawson they're renting. They could have a business. They could have a camper or decide to go to cruises for 6 months of the year, but they want cheap rent. We have no income, we have absolutely no screening. And that is, Mr. Nushai, correct me if I'm wrong, but do we not have to have a governmental purpose if we're gonna have low-income housing? We have to demonstrate it's low-income housing.
I agree.
There has to be
By the
criteria.
way, if I may interrupt your train of thought, I agree with you. If I may interrupt your train of thought, I think that's your introduction. May we have a motion so that we can have discussion?
Yes. Okay, so that was my introduction of why I moved it on. Then my motion would be that, and by the way, this is a policy thing, for the record. My motion is that we have a policy of providing low-income housing for seniors, and that through that policy, we have procedures to ensure that the housing is appropriate. And we can base that, there's many objective things, HUD, I know this shouldn't be part of, I don't know if this should be part of the motion. Should I?
No,
HUD,
no need.
okay. But there's objective things like HUD criteria, there's plenty of stuff out there, so on objective criteria,
If you would add, develop a policy by a certain date, I'd support it.
what's a reasonable date? Because you really do have to look into, to craft a proper policy. I mean, I'm spitballing it, so what's a good date? And I'm looking at you because it's kind of a legal thing.
It is, but
Not
law
totally.
unfortunately doesn't necessarily operate by way of timelines. I understand Councilmember Sampson's, wish for it, and we'll bring it back as soon as humanly possible. But I would resist the timeline on it because I imagine there's a few elements to it in order to bring it back a proper policy. Some of the things that we need to consider, obviously, we have to, make sure that everybody that's there is already grandfathered in. We have certain considerations with respect to whomever may be on the list, because I know that there's a list, and then all the other considerations with respect to legal language. So for me to give you a timeline, I'm happy to do so, but it's going to be just my timeline that I will break, I imagine.
I have a
But you
question.
have a lot of,
I'm sorry?
you have a lot of cities already doing it.
Well, absolutely.
So Plagiarism is a great thing.
I'm sorry?
Plagiarism is a great
Oh,
thing.
no, I would, absolutely, I'm not above it, on the contrary, I do so frequently, and,
Well, I will also say, though, that low income is relative to region, locality, a whole bunch of things. So
And-
it's not, you can't just totally plagiarize.
No,
because there's other factors.
and I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
you have to consider what we have
Right.
and what we've done over
Right.
years and years and years. So that's why I'm resistant to any timeline, because I just don't, once we start digging, it's important that we start digging.
Yes, do it
And-
properly.
Would you go 3 months?
I'm sorry? No, I don't think it's going to be that. No, it'll be this current term, whatever we come up with.
So my question is, if we get some sort of official designation as low-income housing, with that, I mean, she mentioned that, we don't necessarily keep things up to any kind of standard, things aren't that great. Won't that also raise our obligation as far as maintenance of the facility, which might in turn defeat the whole purpose of
Well,
the cost?
Yeah, I certainly understand your perspective. I really do. And I think you're correct. But my ultimate, well, from my perspective as your attorney, we shouldn't be, my overall thought is we shouldn't be in the business of leasing to anyone. But if we are, small towns like this shouldn't be in that business because of these kind of problems. But we are. And I imagine, because I imagine the history of when we tried, when this item was brought up for the sale, and I remember the visceral reaction from the community and the members. So if we're not going to be willing to sell this property or make whatever accommodations with respect to unloading it from our books, then we need, what we do, whatever the goal is that we have in mind, minus the titles and the officiousness of it, whatever the goal is that we have in mind, which is to offer low-income housing, we should do exactly that, and we should have a process that helps us accomplish that for our seniors. And to the extent that we perhaps may not be utilizing the best process currently, we need to find out what we're doing, get to the bottom of it, come up with a procedure, something that I can articulate, or I'm saying I, but we, the city can articulate to you as a body, so that you can appropriately handle however you want to handle it down the road.
And understand the big picture. Now, my other question is there a need, is there a need to renew these rates and then start that process, or?
Yeah,
That's
I
kind
think
of what I
that's,
thought,
yeah, I think so. I think, to renew the rates and then begin a process, I think that makes sense.
That's why I asked her to come forward, because they went into effect September 1st, I believe.
I believe, yes.
And it was prior and bumped, and I said, well, it's got to come forward.
I had
mean,
no
those
objection with
rates are
coming
going, so
on.
that's
You gave me the
why.
opportunity to bring it back up, so I'm
Correct.
fine with it. And I agree that we need to set something while we're in the process.
And the
I
rates
know-
were set, so-
But my question is, actually, can we do this first and then, because that has to be another motion.
Yeah.
So can we do this first and then we'll discuss that? Because yes, I.
Yeah, I think your motion was with respect to policy, so.
Yes.
yeah.
Right, I
And
currently have
obviously,
a-
at some point, there would be, we have a policy that we run clean and maintained and what that looks like, but right now, we're starting with
Sure,
low-income housing and the criteria.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was the motion.
I'll support a motion.
Can you, so what exactly is the motion?
From what I understand, we are a motion to
Develop.
have administration, legal, create a policy for the administration of the low-income housing in Clawson. That's a summary. I mean, that's what I have.
In Clawson or specific to the rent shop?
Yeah, it's specific to rent shop.
Well, are there any other properties? I mean,
No.
No, but just looking for clarity.
it gets specific to Renshaw, that's fine,
Okay.
if that's what you want. I mean,
Yeah,
trying to
it's
get it.
develop
Okay,
proper.
so that's where we're at. That's a motion
To
by
ensure that they're
Scripture,
low-income.
and Mayor Pro Tem supported that.
Yes.
So we're good? Okay. Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
We will work on that.
All right, then
You will
to
work.
follow up with what was said, the rental rates currently are, I'm sorry, wait, what are the rental rates? Because this doesn't have that.
It's right here in the packet.
Yeah.
That's what it is right now? Oh, so we're not raising them, we're just
No.
renewing them? Sorry, I'm
Carry
sorry.
over.
Okay, I misunderstood, I didn't know if you were raising or renewing. Okay, in that case, then the motion is to, I just lost the darn thing. Oh, because it wasn't a motion, because it was part of the consent agenda, so I have to make one up. All right, so the motion is to approve the rental rates for the 14 single-bedroom units at $470 per month and the single efficiency unit at $440 per month for September through, whatever.
Does this bind us for a whole year?
Is it a year?
Yeah, I mean, we
Or is it
typically do.
indefinite? What are we-
We typically, I imagine, even when we come back, when administration comes back with whatever policy, I presume you're going to keep the rates. So I think keeping them a year probably makes sense.
I mean, you can't change stuff around on residents like.
No, and that's why-
This isn't a raise at all. This
Right, yeah.
is,
But even so, it's still,
holding
they need
steady.
at least some consistency so they can, okay.
Right.
So yes, so renew them at this.
For a year.
Right,
At a year.
for a year.
Make that motion?
I made it, yeah.
I'll support that.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes,
Rates are set in.
all right. Thank you. The next on the agenda, we have consideration of approving the proposed description of the audit committee, I believe was included in the packet. I'm not going to make that motion, and Mr. Georges, neither should you, frankly, because, I mean, we could, but we're on it, so let's let someone else make it.
Didn't we already do them?
We motioned to approve the committee. This is the job description that Councilmember Moffett said, come back and explain what it is. What, yeah, and then,
Now, in other words, you want a motion for this?
yes.
Yeah, but I'll say, Mayor, I move the description, Mayor, I move the description for the audit committee be approved as presented.
I'll support that.
All right, any questions on it?
Have you guys looked at it? The two of you?
Well, yeah, in the packet. My understanding, Mr. Nushai, is that, and I want to make sure of it, that this job description accommodates the Open Meetings Act, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's not a standard audit committee description as we would normally see it.
No.
It accommodates our unique system with the OMA, correct?
Yes, ma'am. This is one that, if you recall, we had that conversation about where does it stem from, if it's the creation of the city manager or administration, or if it's creation of this body.
Right.
It being the creation of this body, it needs to, follow.
This reflects properly.
Yes.
That's my, okay.
Yeah, we'll have Ken do the tricks and everything. Job.
Okay. And that was my primary question. Any other questions? All right.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Accepted.
Can I'll ask during.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a request at this point.
I was just going to ask, is there any other business to discuss? So
Yes,
if
there
you would
is.
like to,
Okay.
what business did you have?
And this is for the attorney.
Oh, there you go.
What I would like to do, okay, is to have the attorney contact the previous auditors, okay, to release to us, okay, their notes on the internal controls.
You mean the work papers?
Work papers,
That would
I'm
be the
sorry.
proper
The work
sign.
papers, okay. On the internal controls, okay, that they reviewed and commented on, right? And I would also like them to release the work papers where we had receivables that were in excess of a year's time that are still sitting on the books, okay, so we can take a review on those, on that. And also, I would like to see the journal entries, okay, that the auditors had placed on the books.
They're,
Is that a form of motion?
you're asking, okay,
You
but.
don't, you don't need a motion.
So we're asking, because we're entitled to
Yeah.
that as a council, are you asking,
Well,
why are we
the reason
asking
the reason I'm asking the attorney to do it, okay, when, he's got a little more power in talking to the previous auditors
Okay,
than I do.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, happy to do it. I'll, some of this is Greek to me, as you can imagine, so I'll listen to.
Would it help if he sent you an email with what he just
Yeah,
said?
if you don't
I'll
mind.
translate it, because I'm Greek.
Technically neighbors with them, so, yes. But yes, yeah, that would be great. Happy to do it.
All right.
That worked, okay. Was there anything else?
That's it.
I actually have something then that I wanted to. I would like to consider I think it would go under old unfinished business permanently. We have, and I think this was to your point earlier, but I think this is a better way than putting timelines on everything. We have a lot of outstanding items that never seem to get addressed, we never get the, we asked, this is supposed to come back, we passed resolutions saying this is supposed to, we need this, and nothing happens. So I would like to make a motion that we begin to keep and I'm gonna say we, and by we, I mean our city clerk, because minutes, city clerk, keep a running calendar, I think that's the word, I don't know if I get a better word, under old unfinished business of items that we, for example, what we've just added tonight with the policy for the low-income housing, that we maintain a list under old unfinished business, and that the list is, obviously it would come off when it's resolved, and it would stay on with updates until it is. And that way we continue to have these things in front of us, and, because there's a whole bunch of things right now, such as a grant for a water fee review that was approved months ago that I don't think any action's been taken on, and we certainly haven't been updated on it, but we actually have money, and if we don't spend the money, I wonder when we lose it. I don't know. Stuff like that. So I'm making a motion that we add a calendar? I don't know if that's the right word, but under unfinished business.
It's like a
ongoing-
program manager schedule, right? So you have an item.
Red light, green light.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever, yeah, something
A
that, so
list,
it stays.
just list them there.
It
Right.
stays on there.
Yeah, so it stays on there until it's
and
resolved.
Sometimes
I
there
get it.
might be updates, sometimes not, but they are on that list until they're resolved.
I understand.
I'll second that.
that published?
Well, it would
It'll
be,
be
it's
in
on the
pack-
agenda.
Right.
Okay,
That's my
That's
proposal.
the,
okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it would stay under unfinished business as an item, itemized, I think Mr. Nushai said that, itemized. So yes, that is my motion. Did you
second.
No,
I
we have a
second
second. Is there any questions about what and that would get to our constant timeline
Is there a
issue.
desire as far as the format of it?
Most recent,
that's what
last.
old and unfinished business is for.
No, I'm saying how
I
it's-
mean,
Oldest first,
Right.
most recent last, and
sure.
it just
The
stays
city
there.
manager and I will go through a list and see what we think is sitting there. And if you have ideas of what you can think of that before
actually,
me.
I have several that should be on there that haven't been.
Okay.
Yes, I
Well,
can send the few I know
can
of.
send you a
That's
list
easy to
too.
do.
Yeah. Anybody send it to you, right?
Sure,
Okay.
send both of us. Yeah.
Who? You? and
City manager and I,
City manager,
yeah.
Right, okay.
Chief and I,
Yes. All right.
Scott and I.
That was a second. We did not vote on it yet.
No. Any other discussion? Everyone's done? Okay. Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. Does anybody else have anything? Because that was mine. No? All right. The next, I'm getting there. I gotta go back to it. All right. So yes, next would be public comments for items not on the agenda. Earlier, we had for items on the agenda. Now it would be items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody that came on the call? Ken? I see a phone, but I'm not sure. Did I lose Ken?
Yeah.
Because he would be, we're on public comments for items not on the agenda. Did we get a person that jumped on?
We did. If you'd like to ask, if they'd like to speak.
I'm asking. So I'm going to go first to whoever's on the call. If you would-
Do we have anybody on that came on the call? Ken, see a phone, but I'm not sure.
What's the delay?
They can go ahead and proceed with
We're on public comments for items not on the agenda. Did we get a person that jumped on? I'm going to go first to whoever's on. Do we have anybody on that came on the call? Ken, see a phone, but I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if I'm coming through. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
On public comments for items not on the agenda. Did we get
You
a
need to
person
turn
that
off your YouTube.
It's like calling into the radio. You need to turn off the radio.
You need to turn off your YouTube and then you can speak.
I'm here and my hand is raised. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me? On public comments for items
off your YouTube, caller.
Okay, I turned off my YouTube. This is kind of confusing because it isn't through Zoom. I've been watching. My name is Jean Nanatovich. I live at 500 Bowman. I'm just wondering when we're going to take down all the dead plants that are hanging in the city. Basically, when they got put up, they were not looking well to begin with. I heard that they sat in the DPW with no sun or rain for a while, and then when they got hung up, they looked rather sickly. I called Joan, and I was actually very surprised. I called like at 9:30 last Tuesday night, and she actually picked up her phone, which I thought was shocking. I was just planning on leaving her a voicemail, and I did end up talking to her, and so that was last Tuesday, August 31st, and she said that she was going to get a hold of the DPW and see if maybe she could get those plants taken down. I know they've been dead for at least 3 weeks. Yeah. I'm a gardener, and when you got dead plants like that, you need to get rid of the evidence. So that's my comment. I just want the plants down. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
She reminded me of a question.
Okay, according, just for anybody who's curious about the plants, they, as I know Glenn is next to me, the plants apparently went down today, so all of them? Are they all?
They started.
They started, thank you. They started taking them down today.
Not all were dead. The ones in front of downtown Charlie's okay.
You watered them, didn't you?
Absolutely.
All right, so
Don't get
any
anything for free.
other public comments for items not on the agenda? I hope you heard that, Jean, that the plants are starting to come down. Any other, come forward, please.
Andrea Hodges, 510 West Baker. I am the director of the Christmas in Clawson Craft Show. I'm not sure if all of you guys are aware of it, so I just want to briefly explain what that is. It started in 1984 by the PTOs of the Clawson School District, and it's been going strong ever since. Right now, we have 268 spaces that we sell to about 190 crafters, and they make lots of things, anywhere from jewelry to bath soaps and lotions, candy, jerky, woodworking, pet items, home decor, calendars, you name it, we've got it. I always used to like to say that this is the place you should go shopping for your holidays because you're going to find the most unique and special gift for that loved one. Anyways, we also are a juried craft show, just in case you're not sure what that is. That means you have to have some of your handiwork involved in it. You just can't do like a Color Street or a Pampered Chef because those are big corporations. We also have the orchestra that comes and plays. We have a raffle, a bake sale, a 50-50. We also have a t-shirt contest. I open it up to the entire school district, and what they do is they have to draw something that's Christmas in Clawson related, and then whoever wins gets a $25 check. We also have over 3,500 people come through our doors. And all of our proceeds go to the PTOs and PTSA. And I just really want to comment, there's a great board of people who run this craft show. I inherited it back in 2015. And when I got that show, it was around a $17,000 show. Because of the support of the board that we have, we've made it up to a $44,000 show, which we can give back over $25,000 back to the PTOs who use that money to help the staff and the students. But the only problem now is the second year I had to cancel it. So we canceled it again. I had 3 reasons why we had to cancel it. If you want, I can go into it so everybody knows. One is the Clawson school districts put their safety protocols in, and people from the public are not allowed into the buildings until all school activities has ceased. That means we wouldn't get into like after 3 o'clock. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to set up this craft show, and then 90% of those crafters come Friday night to set up. So that would be a very big challenge for us to pull that off. The other reason is volunteers. Volunteers are hard as it is to get. I'm sure all of you guys know that. So if all the climate, everything's going on, we thought we'd have a hard time getting students and adults to volunteer. The big thing is the crowds. We had 3,500 people come last time. I anticipate at least 4,500 to 5,000 to come this year, just because we haven't had it, and it's such a big thing here in Clawson. With anticipating that, we have hallways. Hallways are narrow, they can become crowded, no windows. So I took that into consideration. And plus, if there was a mask mandate, I did not want to police that. I didn't want anything to do with that one. So I had to cancel it. But the reason why I'm here is I'm stepping down from Christmas in Clawson. I've run it for 7 years, and I'm stepping down now. And I come here I want to give thanks. Christmas in Clawson wouldn't be the success it is if it wasn't for the help of the city. First of all, I would like to thank the following city managers who helped me. It's all these people who have helped me during my journey of these 7 years. I'd like to thank Mr. Irwin and Mr. Pollock. I'd also like to thank Chief Saravello and Chief Anderson for allowing me to put no parking signs up around the high school, and also having officers walk through our hallways throughout the time to the craft show. Unfortunately, there are people who still like to steal, and I thought it would be a good idea just to have them make an appearance throughout the craft show. And thank you to those officers who did that. I also would like to thank Mr. Hodges, Mr. Ballard, and Mr. Zablocki, and all the DPW workers who put up the banners throughout the city. That means we have the 14 Mile Road banner, the Rotary Park, the City Hall, the vacant lot on 15 Mile Road, and Elliott Street. Signage is one of the main ways of advertising. And we actually did a survey and we found out that's what people see. They see the signs. After we put up that 14-mile banner, we had a huge influx of patrons. That means more people saw it. Again, Christmas in Clawson wouldn't be where it is today without the help of the city. And I hope the city will work with Christmas in Clawson in the future and keep it going. One more last thing. We have a raffle at Christmas in Clawson, and the grand prize for the raffle is a quilt. My mother-in-law has made that quilt every year I've done Christmas in Clawson. And this is my last year, and the quilt is done. So what I came up with is that I'm going to have a raffle for this quilt. And again, all the proceeds are going to go back to the schools, because that's what Christmas in Clawson Craft Show is for. We're here to help the staff and the students, support them. And I can't be more proud of the board that has done that. But so anyways, I will be raffling out this quilt, and I hope the city will help me get the word out about that. And I want to thank that person who is putting in the application for me and paying those fees for us to get that rolling. And that's all I have to say. And again, thank you. I'm very appreciative of everything that has been done to help Christmas in Clawson Craft Show to become what it is today, a well-run and very organized craft show. Thank you.
I have a question. So is nobody taking over?
No one has stepped up so far.
So is this a call to the community if anybody's interested?
Well, actually, I would
They
probably
go to
say
board?
someone has to be attached to the schools to be running this.
I didn't know how that works.
So I would rather they should have someone who's attached to the schools. Because you have to, you have to know your volunteers. You have to go to these school activities. You want to know these people because you got to get the help. So it needs someone who is involved and sees many people to keep it going. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
And thanks for all your help in doing it. We appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of disappointed crafters out there. Anybody else? Are you coming up for public comment, John? Really? You didn't have enough time up here?
I just wanted to let everyone know, sort of a reminder, that Cinema in the Street is this Saturday. The movie is Field of Dreams. The street closes at 6, and the movie should start by 8 o'clock. So we hope we see a lot of people there. No games before, no. The street will close at 6. By the time the fire department helps fill up the water ballast barrels and they get the screen set up, there's not a whole lot of time. So, and with it being later this year, the movie will start a little bit earlier. So that will be that. I typically, the minute the street closes down, we see people bringing their chairs and set them up. So come on down, bring your chairs, have a bite to eat, and stay.
I brought a couch once.
You brought a couch once, which was very nice.
Is it rain or shine?
Well, we have shown the movie when it had, we've kept showing it when it started raining midway through the movie, but if it rains before, it's no.
It's like this.
It's yeah, it's pretty much a wash. The screen can stay up, but all of the equipment for sound doesn't take all that water real well. Yep.
Thank you.
So I hope we see everyone there.
So, Cinema in the Streets, Field of Dreams, Saturday night, downtown. Anybody else? All right, then with that, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment for items not on the agenda. City Attorney's report.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, before I start, may I ask Mr. Georges one more question with respect to the request? Mr. Georges, well, actually, you know what? It doesn't have to be in front of council. I can ask you later. Okay.
What request?
With respect to his request of the prior auditor.
Sorry.
I'll just
Okay,
ask
yeah,
him
yeah, sorry,
individually.
sorry.
I just had a question, but, so as far as my report, I have a few items. First, to update you with respect to certain litigation that we faced in the last couple of weeks. We were, August was sued because due to his behavior. There were a couple of lawsuits that came from and they're respectively titled Jobs for Clausen versus August Gischlag in his official capacity. And the second lawsuit, Jobs for Clausen versus August Gischlag in official capacity, as well as Lisa Brown, the clerk. The sum total, and I'll try to be as brief as possible, these Jobs for Clausen was the marijuana petition that is going to be on the ballot come November. The first lawsuit centered around the ballot question. So August and I dealt with that particular aspect of it. The city clerk has the authority pursuant to our charter to develop the ballot question that should reflect objectively the ballot initiative that will be presented to the electorate in Clausen. We did that, submitted it. They challenged the question itself. The matter went up to circuit court. Jobs for Clausen, the actual initiative, the people behind the initiative.
Challenge their question or the other?
Well, the city clerk develops the question, the ballot question.
Sorry,
Okay, so they challenged it.
A process we asked them about starting in February.
Correct.
What they want on the ballot.
Obviously, this has been around for a while. So last minute, they filed the lawsuit challenging the question. The matter went up to the circuit court. After some incredulous back and forth, I think August will support me on this one, they mysteriously, I think, acquiesced to it. And we settled the matter with...
We like their language, we want their language.
Yeah.
So they got the same language as the other guys.
Correct.
Oh,
So there's two ballot petitions. There's
I know
Clausen
there's
Harris.
two. So now we have identical language from two, or can we consolidate?
No.
Identical language with two different results, though.
And two different results.
One is same language, we have two licenses. The other one is same language, this license, this license, this license, this
Okay.
license, this license.
So our thought was to develop a ballot question that properly identify however many licenses were offered pursuant to this, so that you could reasonably, the
Well,
electorate.
originally, the one was very different.
Correct.
I mean, they were very different.
They are very different.
They are very
But
different.
now you're saying they're the same.
No,
except-
only the
they're
question.
very different. This comes down to the heading. It's just
Oh.
and the limit that the Hart equipment can only have so many characters. I mean, it was just
Okay.
so,
That's even more stupid. Okay.
well,
Correct.
okay.
Like, really? Okay,
So,
that's real. All right.
anyways, that flared up in circuit court. Eventually, at the sort of like the 11th hour, just the day prior to the hearing, they settled that matter with us. They agreed to our language, and that's that. Simultaneously, they had filed a second lawsuit, which we were initially served. The second lawsuit, same ballot initiative filed a lawsuit wanting to, for better or worse, wanting to remove the other petition from the...
To kill the competition.
To kill the competition, to remove the other petition from the ballot. And the argument is we improperly certified that particular petition. That matter went up, actually was litigated. Again, we were served, eventually complained, motions, so on and so forth. The matter went up before Judge Grant in Oakland Circuit Court. She held a hearing and ruled on the motion, and basically she denied the relief there. She dismissed, the case. consider sanctions against the attorney, but just today I received a request for the transcripts on that case, and that's usually the opening salvo to the appeal. The issue is moot because, in many respects, because the Oakland County Clerk has already sent the ballots to be printed.
This is what they do. They just sue.
Yeah,
It's,
and we weren't the only, and I should say, we weren't the only city, obviously,
No.
that fielded
No.
this, so there was other cities. So those two matters between the last meeting of council and this meeting of council were both raised, we were served, complaints were filed, we responded, went to court, settled, and as of right now, at least, both of them are resolved. One for good, one other matter, we'll see, will be interesting to see. There was a third suit that we received that dealt with a property in Clawson, seeking to have, it's one of those tax tribunal cases. I provided that information over to you.
that wasn't me
Correct.
on that one.
And then I think along with my report, I sent you a couple of communications. One was, and I thought it was just fortuitous, we received, all the attorneys in the Municipal Attorneys Association received a letter from, the governor's office with respect to charter provisions. That has more to do, obviously, with August and his considerations in the future, but it applies to all of us with respect to the timing of and the way that they review proposed charter amendments. And then lastly, I wanted to tell you that, and I sent you a communication to that end, that one of the candidates for Clawson City Council that we had spoke about previously, which did not meet the age qualification. We did get in contact with her. I spoke with her as well as August, and we prepared an affidavit withdrawing the candidacy, which was what her intention was. So I think I covered it all, but I'm
And so
happy to answer any questions.
She withdrew before the ballots went to print, or is she going to appear
No,
on?
she has not.
No.
She did not. She hasn't signed her affidavit of withdrawal.
Really?
So, yeah. But she did announce her wish, and so.
So she'll
She's
appear on the
put it in
ballot.
writing that she won't accept it if she, and
Correct.
yeah, she won't fight it. She's just not
That's
gonna do it.
unfortunate.
That's it?
Happy to answer any questions if you have.
1, 2, 3, 4, nope, so, city manager report.
Nothing more to add than what we've covered tonight so far?
Okay, well, I've got a question. When might we see the budget amendments that we asked to see as of August 11th?
So I
The resolution.
passed that information along to the finance director, and she is working on that. She's in the audience. I don't know if she wants to address that now, or I can get back to you. But was given the request exactly what was requested on it, so she knows what you're looking for.
Okay, so timeframe, I was just.
I actually have a comment too. You had asked for our thoughts on the employee handbook that was in the packet at one time, and then we took it off and that kind of stuff. And, I mean, I can go through, this is my thought, I just want to share with you publicly. I mean, I can go through with the things that I think should be changed on it, but overall, I think the most important thing is that it be reviewed by an employment attorney. Because there are some things in there that, like, I think it flies in the face of you, Sarah, and I think that, it talks about a probation period, which, I mean, there was just a lot, and it looks like it's been cobbled together over the years, like most handbooks for, companies, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, I can send you my opinions, but at the end of the day, I think the time is more effectively spent by giving it to an employment attorney to review and comment on, is my thought.
Correct. And the reason I put that out there, obviously, it had been addressed. There was comments
Right.
about it. I didn't know what those comments were, what the negative comments were.
We know
So
you're
if that is a
bringing up
project that we
stuff.
move, that's why you get those emails from me on different topics.
Right.
And an employee may bring it up to me, and I'm like, okay, well, let me see where it's at. I don't have all that information that everyone has been privy to for.
Sure.
So that's what that's about. And correct, we've talked about it, Mr. Nugent and I, on the different
Yeah, I'm just
aspects of
gonna
it.
look at it, just
100%.
saying. Sorry, Renz.
Well, or an
You're
employment
not an
attorney.
employment attorney, I'm actually team up
Yeah,
on this one.
rightly so. If that be council's will, we'll do exactly that.
Okay, well, but I have another, that I want to add to that, because I suggested this before, and I'm going to suggest it again. Nobody ever said that you or anybody should say, nobody's expected anybody to be that kind of expert, because going to an employment attorney to review it. There are firms that all they do is know the law, know Michigan, know whatever, and they update them annually, they manage the whole process, they put them together, you get them in electronic and paper, there are firms that do this, and I don't understand why, because I went back and looked, we've got over 6-7 years of this coming up over and over again with the last city manager before, I mean, this keeps, and this is silly, there's firms that do this.
I actually agree.
And why pay an employment attorney when we can pay a firm that does this?
Yeah, there are, you're absolutely right. There are firms that do this. We should go to them. Obviously, I and Scott and a lot of us came into the middle of a, sort of like this train had already left the tracks by the time we joined. So
I get that.
if that be the will of council, that's exactly what we'll do.
I would
Simple
be
as that.
happy to make a motion to
Please
do
do.
that, and then people can discuss it from there. But I make a motion that we direct staff to, whether it's an RFP, because I'm sure it's going to be an RFP, we direct staff to put out an RFP for a firm that would draft and maintain our personnel policies and other important policies that are around that personnel, period.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
So nobody's sitting around their computer trying to figure this
We'll
out.
draft-
Because I had a lot of the same concerns.
We'll draft the
Councilmember Hogan had.
language, we'll send it out there, absolutely.
And just make it easy on everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, then anybody want to jump
Sounds
in on
good.
that?
No, that's,
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson,
yes.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett.
Yes.
Just to note, you might want to put that under the unfinished business list that's starting now.
Okay.
Yeah, status of RFP. All right, so yay, that's off your plate, chief, other than get the RFP out there, and nobody has to, yes, thank you. Nobody has to find it.
Thank you.
And then anything.
Weren't we not supposed to use that word direct anymore? Wasn't
No,
that?
there's nothing wrong with that. That's
As a
within
body,
their
we
purview.
could
As a
Okay, I was
body,
worried about that.
it depends on the subject.
Okay.
Some subjects,
Just
but no,
worried
that's
about wording,
perfectly
so no one
appropriate.
got mad.
We're setting a policy that we're going to
Okay.
That's perfectly appropriate.
outsource
That's fine.
that. That's what
Thank you.
we just did. Then I have another one. Okay, so wait, no, maybe I don't. It was no, Councilmember Moffett brought up that one. I asked about the other one. And I think I had another one, but I don't remember what it is, so lucky you. Gosh, I know I had another one. All right. Thank you, Chief. I know that you stepped in and you're trying to pick up stuff. I totally understand these, again, as I said, these are not criticisms. They're just, hey, let's help, let's make this happen. And
Sure.
And I'm utilizing staff. I mean, it's not me. We're a good team. I meet with the department heads frequently, and everyone is definitely stepping up and chipping in, keeping it afloat, so.
All right, city council comments. Bless you all. Consideration of going into closed session, and we are going to take a recess so we can all do our recessing type activities before that, but we have 2 items on here. I'm going to ask a question, Mr. Nushai, because I am utterly confused about item B, and you're usually the one that writes these things, so what are you doing? What application we've appointed? Are we appointing someone else? Do we have a random application we're supposed to look at? What is this?
No, so item B is, with respect, deals with the interim city manager's request to go into closed session, for the contents of his application, which deals with, among others, the finances behind your appointment.
I'm sorry,
His financial requests with respect to compensation with respect to that appointment.
but how is that a closed session? Because compensation, if there's a contract or any compensation, it's part of a record we have
It
to
would-
approve in open session.
It would be thereafter, yes. It's
After.
certainly, you can vote it down, absolutely.
No, I'm not even, I just want to understand it.
I agree with,
Not trying to be difficult.
No, I
want to
understand.
understand it.
I agree because we came to that consensus when we were talking about Mike Smith's application, and we said that the compensation had to be discussed in open session because it's not, the application's been received, accepted, we don't really have an application here, and the elements of the terms, it's terms of employment versus whether or not you're going to get the job, which is what an application is.
And that's
I tend to
ultimately a
agree.
business decision, yeah, so that this
But wait,
council.
I'm not even saying business decision. I didn't think that was something you could go into closed session for. I'm asking from a
Yeah.
and I agree, I thought we did have this question. I thought we directed the question to you. I thought you very specifically told us, no, that is not a closed session item.
Yeah, typically compensation is not.
So why are you putting this on here?
Because it's part of the larger, part of the pursuant to interim city manager's request, is part of his larger content, his larger application. Now, you can parse it out and say, we already made the appointment. The moment that you make that determination that the appointment is final, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If all that's left is the compensation, then you shouldn't go into closed session. But if the appointment is finalized at the time when when you have all the information, then you could.
Huh?
You may disagree with me.
No, you just totally confused me. I was with you until that last sentence. Councilmember Moffitt? do you understand?
I think what he's saying, because he's an attorney, right? He's saying that.
Sometimes you interpret him much better than I
It's
do.
my son's an attorney.
That's right.
It's the whole, I agree with you. We have accepted the application, but to the extent that there's this air of the application not being accepted, that I believe what Chief Cervello is saying, that part of his terms of accepting is the compensation. However, I also agree that the application has been accepted, right? And compensation, I mean, you can say what you want for your application to be accepted, but the moment we start discussing whether or not we're going to adhere to that compensation request, we need to go into open session, I believe.
So can I ask then, to piggyback on that, is it to discuss it, or we
If
can
that's the
discuss it as
case.
part of the thing, but it still has to get voted on?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's not, I mean, it has to be.
It has to be
resolved
voted in
here.
open session, yeah,
So I
absolutely.
guess what I'm at, well, now I'm coming to this question, now that I understand what better. So do we understand that that is not a confidential thing?
It's not, yeah, that's
Is that
absolutely
an
correct.
issue with any kind of, because I know there's also, are you in the union? You're union something.
Well, this-
No, you're not in
yeah.
the union. Okay, is there any issue with contract, anything, retirement, anything?
Well, no, in the sense that, yes and no. Obviously, we've created an updated addendum to Chief Cervello's contract, because obviously, Chief has certain terms and conditions on his contractual agreement that deals with his chief of police, which we don't want to affect in many ways. The moment that you appointed him in the recent past to assistant city manager, we created an addendum to his agreement. Thereafter, now, Chief is, you've appointed to interim city manager, so we've created an updated addendum to the contractual agreement. All that to say that we're keeping, the goal is to obviously not affect what he already has earned by way of his employment as chief of police, and not affect it in any way, shape, or form. So at the end of the day, if council wishes to discuss this, because we would be, on this issue, it would be, you're right, it would be minutia to go into closed session and come back. If council wishes to discuss it in open session, it makes perfect sense.
This council person wishes to do it legally. That's all I care about. I have
It
no
would certainly
issue-
be legal.
I have no issue with if it's legal in closed session to do so, because I know we're coming out and the resolution would be made out here. I have no issue staying out here and discussing. I want to know what's legal, period.
So Councilmember Moffitt's interpretation of my interpretation is exactly
Oh, my
right.
God.
And here's that interpretation once more.
No, okay, you know what? No, it's okay. I think, here's what we're going to do. Because now I understand it better, we can vote this up or down. I am going to say, I make a motion that we go into, I'm going to do this in two parts. I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the OMA to consider materials exempt from disclosure under 13(1)G of the Freedom of Information Act. That's the end of my motion.
Support.
Thank you. Anybody want to ask on that, or can we motion that, and then I'll go to the next one? Because so we don't muddy the waters, make them clean. Yep, roll call, please.
Mayor Scripture,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then I will also then motion, for the sake of, so we can, because I understand now, council can decide as a body, consideration of for going into closed session pursuant to Section 8 of the OMA, paragraph F, to review and consider the contents of an application for appointment to a public office if because the candidate requested the application remain confidential. That is the motion.
Just for clarity, since we had the conversation, would you consider amending the motion to clarify that any decisions in regard to the requests made through the application
Absolutely,
process
yes.
will be done in open?
I
Okay.
add that decisions will be made out in open session. Correct. So yes, that is my motion.
I support that.
All right, any discussion then on this one, knowing what I've already asked? If you guys if you understand what I just asked?
Yeah, I thought I had it as far as making sure that we had a threshold that we needed to pass, which is in closed session. We're not coming out. Is that?
We
what
are
we're
coming
saying?
out.
We are coming
No,
out.
that's what I.
That's what I-
that's-
okay.
Business happens out
Councilmember
of closed
Moffitt
session.
asked
So we're
me to
moving
mention
out,
that.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it would be
Okay.
open decision.
That's, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you understand it?
Yeah.
Do you understand what we're doing?
Let me take a notes.
Okay, as long as everybody understands, you can choose up or down, because it sounds to me like we're saying there's a little gray area there, so everybody legal, but we vote, so go ahead, call it.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Georges.
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Scripture.
Yes.
So we are going into closed session at what time?
We are at 9:37 right now, we will go in at 9:45.
9:45. Recorded.
Are we closing or moving?
Up to you.
Sorry, you haven't been here in the past. so
No,
I'm
you can do it, it's up to you, whatever you want to
I
do.
think it makes sense to move because Ken obviously has his,
Asking.
yeah. I
So
think-
we are,
Go to the
going
conference
to,
room.
I'm just telling you, we're going to move to the conference room. And then we will be coming back in open session. For anybody who wants to hang out, you can stick around. I'm doing my thing now.
Second.
All right, so at 10:42 PM, we are resuming open session. I'm sorry, well, as soon as you take the roll call vote.
Moffett.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Scripture.
Yes.
Shepherd. Georges. Efficiency.
Back in session. First item first. Okay. Because I wrote this down. I would like to make a motion to direct the city attorney to negotiate an agreement with the former city manager reflecting the spirit of discussion in closed session.
Support.
Roll call.
Sampson.
Yes.
Scripture.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
Georges.
Yes.
Moffett.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're hereby directed.
Excuse me. All right, and then, item number 2, I don't actually know what I'm motioning because we're discussing, but I don't know what, because I didn't understand the thing in the first place.
I presume for purposes of the motion, is motion to approve the updated
For the
addendum.
purposes of discussion.
For purposes of
Okay.
discussion.
All right, so for purposes of discussion, I make a motion to approve the proposed.
Updated addendum.
The updated addendum to the agreement between the city of Clausen and Chief Scott Cervello, correct? Okay,
That a motion?
that was a motion.
I'll support it.
All right, so we have a motion on the table now for discussion. Who wants to start? Fine, I'll start. Okay. COWARD. All right, so I have a couple questions because I was confused on some of the language in here, although I think it's just carryover and needs to be fixed. So there is a clause in here under compensation that states that it will be for the compensation, additional compensation would be in addition to the performance of the employee's obligation as chief of police, as well as pay issued pursuant to prior version of this addendum, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, is there a reason we don't have numbers? Because if we're voting on the final thing, the whole thing's final, right? All the numbers are out there. We're oblique on half of these. So what was the pay issued pursuant to the prior version?
The prior version was 103 or 104 per year.
That wasn't the pay.
That
The
included both.
addendum was not 103.
The addendum, as well as the chief of police, is 103 and 104.
Okay. Okay, so the addendum was chief of police plus.
Plus.
And the total.
That was rolled into one. This would be
Right,
a
and
separate
so the
stipend.
total, that's what I want to understand. Okay, so the total.
Because this will not be forever.
Right. Okay. And then, remind me, Chief, if I remember correctly, when does your annual, because there's an annual raise built into your original contract, correct?
Yeah, I waived the first raise last year because
Correct.
of the correction, and then I went with, I got everything that the
Right.
department heads got this year.
Yes. Oh, okay, and that was so it's the same as, I didn't know if you had a special
Not
provision.
above and beyond.
Okay.
After that first year, which I waived, it then
Right, right.
goes status quo with department heads.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember if it was a special percentage or just,
Nope,
okay.
just
thank you.
that first year.
All right, so when, that just happened, right?
Correct.
So there would be, I mean, unless the interim lasts over a year, that wouldn't end up being part of it. Another raise, and your next raise would not,
Correct.
because
Yeah,
it's already
unless
happened.
this
In other
goes
words,
till
next
June
month, you're not
30th.
about to get a 6% raise on money that's just temporary.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All right,
There was no raise built into this temporary.
that's right. I mean, unless you were
Stipend.
actually forever. All right. So let's talk about the dollar amount. Make your pitch.
Meeting with Mr. Nugent, we looked at what it would cost to bring in a GovHR employee, and he figured it anywhere from $80 to $100 an hour, is which he thought is what it was prior to. And then he looked at the on-call, which is set right now for the fire chief at $100 a day, so that's where he came up with that figure.
Wait,
Which,
fire chief.
well, if Troy's on call for me,
Sorry.
so that'd be $700 a week. So that figure of 1,000 is where we came in the ballpark, and it's a savings if you were to go outside and
So we
bring
were-
someone in that doesn't know staff and can keep things moving.
Okay, so we were basing that on, or you were basing some of that on an estimate of if we were to bring in an outside, correct?
But can I make a point
Yes,
about
please.
the cost of
Please.
the outside person?
'Cause I
The
have that
outside
number.
person, we're paying markup, we're paying their workers' comp, we're paying for their benefits. So that figure of getting an outside person incorporates a ton of costs that's already considered into your base pay. So that's not an apples to apples realistic comparison. Like I said, you're paying their markup, you're paying, their markup on their workers' comp, you're paying their markup on their benefits, you're paying their markup on, there's the state amount that you have to pay for the first $99,000 an employee takes in. There's a ton of costs associated with that are already built into your base pay. So
I'm just letting you know the conversation
I get that.
we had.
I get that, but I don't think that that's a realistic compensation or comparison because we're already paying for all of those other things. So what we really need to do is assess the value of the additional services that you're providing above those of being an assistant manager. So you're saying assistant city manager.
Correct.
And you're saying that's worth about $52,000 a year. And I get you're not going to be here for the whole year,
Right.
but what additional value above your duties as the assistant city manager will you be performing as the interim city manager that is worth $1,000 pure dollars? That's not benefits or any of that other stuff. It's $1,000 pure dollars above your regular compensation.
I'm not just, sitting idle. I'm trying to keep things moving and stepping in the role of city manager. You don't have to pay an outsider to come in and get to know everybody and get to know the processes and get to know who's who and what's going on. So that assistant city manager role, was very minor. A few hours a week is the way it was built into, just to replace and be around when the city manager was unavailable.
I was not at the meeting when you guys discussed it, but didn't you guys talk about a $20,000? Wasn't that number thrown around for the cost of taking over the interim duties? Wasn't the $20,000?
You talking back then, or?
You guys, no, on the meeting at 4 o'clock while I was working, you guys.
Oh, when we decided to.
Yeah, I thought, wasn't $20,000?
I'm actually looking it up. I don't remember throwing around $20,000, but actually, can I back up on something because it's stuck in my head? Are we planning on putting Troy on a permanent on-call basis for this whole time period?
No.
Okay.
We based it on when I'm gone, he
Like
gets
you were last
$100 a day,
time.
that's
Yes, okay,
$700 a
okay.
week. And so in our discussions, Rennis is like, you're not just on call, you're actually there active and, involved, not just on call status and handling activities. So that's why it was,
I just want to
we
make sure.
went
'cause
above the 700 a little bit.
I thought you were saying that.
Oh, no.
Okay. So how much did you say that you were kind of factoring in what you thought a temp person would be?
I got that figure in
Rennis?
discussion. Rennis thought it was 80
Okay.
an hour.
We're looking at averages.
I didn't look it up.
And then, but to Councilmember Moffat's point, whatever it would include all that stuff that the person never receives. It just goes to all of the perks, the benefits, the workers' comp that.
That's a full burden.
Right, is what?
Full burden, right?
Correct. All right, so I'm going to say this and let someone jump in. I already appreciate that you have jumped on a lot of deferred items, and you have. And I know that you didn't know what a lot of those were. You weren't necessarily in the meetings, they weren't assignments for you, so I wouldn't pay attention either. I don't really care, it's not my job. But you've jumped in and you are, I also will say that right away on that first storm was stellar, right? I mean, so I completely appreciate, and I think that that has been excellent. What I would have hoped for has been happening, especially with the challenge of having to jump into it. Having said that, I do think that the amount you've proposed is a little on the high side for what I would have projected. Because I would have seen the assistant city manager as part of, and that was never defined. That was something, again, it was another thing that never occurred, that should have occurred, because that was supposed to be defined. And, you know, for the record, the city manager, once we appointed it on, at that time, once the city manager came in, the city manager could unappoint. It's his prerogative, or her prerogative.
Correct.
And you know that, right? And that's fine. We have nothing to do with it. And, but it was also supposed to define what the job was. And that's not on you, not saying it is. That was supposed to happen, and it didn't. So right now, if I understand correctly, you've been operating for almost 2 years now. First part, winging it, and we get why. Second part, continuing to operate with no parameters around what an assistant city manager is. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Which I don't think goes into a lot of things. But I will say that what I had thought, and it means nothing because it would have been the city manager and you to define that, or the city manager to define what he would think an assistant. But I would have thought that part of that would be stepping into a role on a short-term basis, you know, to step in. However, this is a little bit more than a short-term basis, which is why am completely amenable to extra compensation. Because this is more than just I'm covering for a week. I'm covering for, you know, this is probably covering for up to 6 months. And
Fair
that
enough.
means you're gonna be getting into this stuff. So I am 100% can get behind increasing the compensation over that amount. So having said all that, I do think that the $1,000 is on the high side. That is my personal opinion. I'm going to now ask if anybody else would like to speak.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a little on the high side. Again, as far as when you're taking a look at the dollar per hour and trying to calculate that, again, as was pointed out, there's other factors that go into that compensation. So whatever that percentage is that's not related in this situation because it's being carried in the regular compensation, I'm not sure what that is. Is it 20%, 30%? But I think there's a range in there that would probably need to be taken out and then calculated as far as how many hours are going to be required.
Can I ask a question? When Kathy Leanhouse stepped in as interim city manager, what amount additional compensation did she receive?
She was
interim.
Yeah, they
But she was
moved her from her
interim.
title.
She was
They removed
interim.
her from,
Right, but she was interim
But
city
she was
manager.
interim.
I don't know.
I don't know on top of my head. I can try to look right now.
I mean, that would be, I think, what her increase would.
What was,
Well, she was removed from Parks and Rec, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was removed from Parks and
Yes,
Rec and brought
that
in
is
as the
different.
city
Well,
manager.
and that's what I'm asking, what was the
She was an
disparity
interim.
between her, she was interim city manager, she was only supposed to be there for a year. That was her title, interim city manager.
Yes.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah,
removed from her
right,
regular job.
right,
yeah.
right.
But she was, to your point, and yes, she was not trying to conduct 2 jobs. Yes, right.
How many hours do you think you're working extra a week, like in the weekends?
I mean, I'm averaging at least 2 or 2.5 a day
I believe it.
extra. Not counting, phones and emails, and even when I was on vacation that first week, I was in
Yeah, that
touch
doesn't
with
count.
department heads and all that. I mean, it's just what I do, and then that was a number we came up with through discussion, so,
All right.
I mean, open to hear what everyone's got to say on it,
I
obviously.
don't know the prior number that she was making, but the amount that she was compensated was $85,820. That's pursuant to the agreement that we crafted for her. But I don't know her prior pay as for her prior
Do we know
position.
what our current? I'm sure August is gonna say he doesn't have them off the top of his head. You don't have everyone's salaries memorized?
I don't have everyone's salaries memorized.
Oh, hold on.
I
Oh,
want
go
to
ahead,
cut to
sir.
the chase. Make a motion.
All right, so let me, because I just ran some numbers. If we were to take the original, again, you're absolutely worth extra money, I think, but we all have to break it down and make sure we all understand what we're doing, and so we can all agree. If we were to take the wage that you were say annually, and benefits are gonna stay the same, so that doesn't change. Benefits stay the same. That worked out to about 49.5 an hour. And then if I was to take the $1,000 a week times 52 divided by 2,080, which I know that's just straight 40 hours, and I know you work, but that's 25 an hour. So essentially, $49.50, $50 an hour is current, and then you would be adding plus half to that.
So the only aspect of benefits that does change is the or whatever the.
Correct.
Yep,
Compensation and 401k.
the compensation and social security.
Yes.
And employer payroll tax, all that kind of stuff, yes.
Yes, and the way that our plan is written, compensation is compensation, there is no, I'm pretty sure there's not gonna be a provision in there that says take out extra
Right, so
pay.
there'd be
it
an
is
increased cost.
higher, yes,
Yep.
it will definitely be higher on that, so, and I don't mean that's a bad thing, but that is something
It's
to
just something to
factor in.
consider. It's the
It is
cost
something to
of it, right,
factor
yeah.
in. So there will be additional retirement during that time period, because what do we pay, what is it, I can't remember our percentage, but yes, so whatever that percentage is.
I pay additionals, yeah,
Yeah,
I pay out of mine.
that's the 437, I'm talking about our 401A.
The match, yeah. The employer match.
So I have the original, there is no match.
Oh,
I do pay
that's
a retirement
right.
fee on everything I earn.
You're the original.
Yeah,
You're one of the
I'm
few
a defined
left.
benefit.
So
So you don't
you're
have a
not on-
DC at all?
I'm a defined benefit.
Do you have a DB in
So I
there?
have a percentage that comes out of my money
But it
that
kinda
goes to
said-
MERS.
Aren't you also isn't the police plan also, you don't have FICA taken out of your checks, do
Well,
you?
we don't have social security taken out.
You're on the old system. You
Right.
don't have a Section
We have like
218
three
agreement.
blended plans.
Right, you don't have a Section 218 agreement. You are under with no FICA. So FICA, Councilmember Moffett, doesn't go up in his case.
Okay.
Nor,
The whole department's under,
right.
We don't
And
pay
the only thing that would change, but I don't think it's so insignificant it wouldn't matter, is your is it high 3 or high 5?
3.
If you retire in 3 years, your high 3 will be a little bit higher, more power to you, but it's not
Yeah,
enough to.
and then I pay out of that. The city doesn't pay. I
No.
mean, they have the retirement fund, but I pay out of what I make into my defined benefit. It's a set, there's only a few of us left.
Okay.
But we still pay an actuarial city part.
Yeah, you
pay
have your
part-
city
yeah,
part
okay.
too, but
But you're right,
we
that's
draw on my
insignificant,
salary.
but that does change because there is no FICA that associates with that.
Okay.
And, yeah, because you are not under a Section 218 agreement, neither are the rest of the police, okay. All right, so that does. So then I guess the question becomes, what we're essentially saying, if I just broke down those numbers as simple as I did, is you're asking for not double, 50% more than you're currently making an hour.
Yeah, I didn't do the numbers, we just figured that, but yes. the way
And
you
I'm not even gonna
put it out
say,
there right now.
because I think it's inaccurate to say, okay, you just said you were working an extra 2 hours a day, I don't doubt that. I wouldn't say, oh, well, it's only based on 2 hours a day, because that's, your full day is,
Today started at
infused.
6:30.
It's
I mean, it
infused
is.
with it. So I get that. But $25 an hour, that's a normal 8-hour day. And that would be, so give me a number, Councilmember Moffett, you're doing the math too?
I'm poised to do the math. I don't have any numbers in there yet.
I thought you already done it, so I was gonna say, okay, what's your number?
Well, so I get what you're trying to do. We're trying to, and I guess if we were going to be super technical, if those 2 hours above the 8, it's time and a half, right? So we want to, what if we were to just do that? Right, so, 10300 divided by 2,080.
Oh, I know where you're going with that math.
Yeah, but that gets, so what if we were to, because you're suggesting like a base of $25 an hour, right, is kind of where it breaks down to 25.50-ish with the, to get to, is where you're going, right?
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that stipend, because I don't want it rolled into my salary, because this is going to be taken away.
Okay,
So it'll be,
right.
yeah.
So what if we, okay.
So if you were to take what you just said, the extra 2 hours at time and a half, that's not
Well, even if you do
nearly
that, so
significant.
2 hours a day, 5 days a week,
Yep.
10 hours, so 10 times 1.5 times 25 gets you to 375 extra a week.
And I think that's too low.
I can cut to the chaser. I want to make a motion that we change the $1,000 amount to $750.
I think that's still too high.
I don't think so.
Especially when we look at it, 375 is what it works out at time and a half.
But if he,
For a full day of time and a half.
yeah, but if.
You didn't just do
if
2
you
hours.
Well, I
change-
did full, I did, yeah, I did 10 times 1.5
Okay, yeah,
times.
We're trying to do this for a
Yeah.
perfect world. If he's got to work 8 hours as a cop and then he turns into 8
No,
hours.
that's why I agree. I said, and I don't think
750.
she argued, 325 is too low. I mean, she ran a calculation, so we'd have, I think that's a base and it's too low, 100%. Do you
But-
disagree?
No, 275 is too low. 750 is too high. Splitting the baby, because that's a attorney's thing. What if we,
That's what Solomon said, I'm not sure.
but splitting the
I'm not
baby
gonna
is
call him
attorney.
Solomon.
What if what if we look at $500 extra a week?
Do either of you, are you running, come on. your math
I was
is
doing
on.
some other math. I mean, I had it a little
Well,
bit higher.
let's hear your
but-
math.
Well, so,
Okay, I'm at 750.
You're
Okay,
at 750?
I agree with Lou.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
at 750, I think that's reasonable.
yeah,
Glenn, where were you?
I was a little higher, this as far as,
750?
yeah, but I can live with 750.
So we got a second on that motion?
I'll second your motion for 750.
Let's vote on it.
Before we do that, I want to clarify a few points. And I'm going to ask, because I don't know if you've considered this, and it doesn't matter from our perspective, because you're in the 457 plan, right? Are you maxing out on that?
I have one of those too, yeah.
So did you you have a preference for it going potentially that direction?
I'd rather not right now.
Okay,
Jordan.
that's, I just want to make sure, I didn't know if you'd considered, and I want to make sure we're putting those things on the table, because we always seem to forget to put stuff. All right, so you prefer it to be straight pay, but you just said that you don't want it to be part of,
Well, yeah, it would be on my paycheck as a stipend, a set amount for that
separate
week,
from
obviously,
your
yes. Built right into the
current
same paycheck,
contract,
same
separate from the
deduct.
contract, the amount going in, which right now is
Correct.
straight salary for you. There's no separate stipend for assistant city manager, right?
Correct, it's rolled into one, it's one combined hourly. So this
Which,
would
by
be-
the way, that actually, and this is totally aside, from a cost accounting perspective, and to understand costs, that really should have been allocated from day one to the city manager's office. Not saying it should have been paid separately to you, but there should have been an allocation on the city manager budget and an allocation, your normal wage under
I got
whatever.
you.
So you might want to mention that to Kelly.
Okay.
Okay. So not 47, and you want it to be labeled as a stipend for interim city manager?
Yeah, it still gets taxed and it still goes,
Yep.
I get my retirement portion.
But if we
Out
put
of
it
it.
as a stipend, so that wouldn't make it not the high three? I don't know what the rule is for the comp.
It still rolls into
I
my
mean, hell, you
FAC.
might as
It
well
still
get a
rolls
little bit
into
of
my
high three in
FAC.
there. Okay.
It still rolls into my
Okay.
FAC.
Vote.
Go ahead and roll call the vote.
I mean, the original motion was as printed, so now it's changed, it's been amended?
No.
Because
Oh, yeah, because we did.
you had an original motion on the table.
You made it, or no, I made it. I'm
I wrote
amending
it down
it.
as it happened, so I know it happened.
You're right, it did, I'm sorry, because we had to make
okay.
motions
It's
to
late.
discuss.
I get it.
I'm gonna amend my motion, this will make it easier, Lou. I'm gonna amend my motion to $750
Then I'll support it.
per week.
Okay, then that is fine. Okay, so roll call that?
Before you roll call, may I just ask a couple of clarifying questions so that I know how to draft the agreement? So we're going to clean up on that agreement some language from prior.
Left that, yeah.
I'm going to add a duration.
So first of all, we're not doing an annual performance evaluation,
Right.
unless he's literally here for a year and plans on staying.
I heard you loud and clear.
Okay.
Duration until appointment of next city manager. Extra $750 a week on top of everything, the current compensation.
Yes.
As a stipend. Thank you.
I have a question, though, and not a question, and that motion is going to stand it is, but I want to ask this question. Do we need, because as we have learned time and time again, sometimes we make our own head assumes things, because we think they're defined a certain way. Do we need to draft a simple, doesn't even have to be part of the agreement, but for the sake of Chief Sarvello, a simple expectation of an interim city manager? Because I certainly do not expect at a full level of a city manager while carrying on other duties, but at the same time, we are now compensating to do extra things. What?
It says it, duties, it's outlined here.
That's for the where?
Yeah,
It
so-
says duties, the interim city manager agrees
I-
to perform discharge for
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
So I had, in the prior agreement for assistant city manager, we had some of those duties listed. I sort of kind of polished them up, but,
There's
you
like
can,
nothing in here.
you can add away. So your question is, can we? Of course.
I just want a tad more specificity for his benefit, because I prefer to have clarity when I work. I don't want to be coming around later and go, well, Scott, I thought you were going to do this. And he's like, well, you never said that, Mayor. And I'm like, well, do we not just have that conversation a few times?
I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
As the chief of police, it's 24/7. We're going to tell you when you can get off.
I have nothing to say about the chief of police. I'm talking for,
Let's call the vote.
So we gotta have, it's under duties that you want to revise.
no, first of all, the motions is
Yeah.
standard. Go ahead and call the
Okay,
vote on that.
Yeah.
What I,
Would you like to file a complaint with the HR department about her striking you, sir?
I can't move the arm. It's killing me.
Mayor Scripture,
yes.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilman Georges,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
No,
Mayor Pro Tem Sampson.
Yes.
That passes.
I'm going to take it upon myself, because nobody else wants a headache, and I will send it to you, Mr. Nushai, and to Chief Cervello to draft a couple thoughts on those bullet points for clarity, and then you can send it for input. All right, I'll throw a first draft out there, and again, I'm talking very simple and very essential, not for your clarity,
Perfectly fine.
lack of misunderstanding, and so you can then send it around if anybody has anything
Sounds
to
good.
add or whatever.
Madam
Okay?
Mayor, motion to adjourn.
I appreciate that, Madam Mayor and Council, for that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for being willing to do the extra stuff during this.
Working well with the department heads, and knock on wood, I think they're happy to be involved as much as they are.
Just 24/7.
Nobody's seconding your motion, so don't stand up, buddy.
Can you say it loud enough?
I'm waiting, because nobody.
Second.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Go
I
ahead.
just want to make sure we had it on there.
I just wanted to torture him a little more.
Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Georges.
Yes.
Moffett,
Yes,
Sampson.
Yep.
Scripture.
yes.
Good night.
You can go home, Ken.